brief and brilliant moment in the 1960s and 70s. We touched it. And then we stopped.
We have gone to the moon and come home. We've spent a good bit of time in low Earth orbit learning how to live off of the Earth.
For decades, we have been learning how to survive away from the pale blue dot we call home. Artemis II is the next sentence in that story.
Artemis II, now standing on the shoulders of those giants, is taking this next big step out to learn how to live on another planetary body away from the Earth. 4
astronauts, Reed, Victor, Christina, Jeremy. They will not land on the moon. Not yet, but they will do something perhaps more profound. They will go around it, crossing the far side, the side no human eye has ever seen up close.
They might get to see some parts of the moon that have never been observed by human eyes before as they cross around the far side of the moon.
And if they look back, they will see what the Apollo 8 crew saw in 1968, a small, fragile, luminous world. Rising.
I can't even imagine. It gives me goosebumps to think about being able to see the Earth rise.
The mission will also test laser communications in deep space for the first time, because as we venture farther from home, we must learn to stay connected to it.
Just like you like to be able to look at your phone and get the information you need, we've got to make sure that our astronauts get what they need.
10 days around the moon, splashdown off the coast of San Diego, and then the next step.
Our next lunar mission will be the one that can then land at the South Polar region once we've tested those systems and also our spacesuits. So we'll be ready to go for that landing.
The cosmos is vast beyond all imagination, but every great journey begins with a single launch.
Jorge Torres, Scripps News Group.
It takes a team of scientists and engineers to get a NASA mission to the moon launched. Let's take a quick look at some of those people that made it happen.
Ohio's name has long been steeped in lunar history ever since the first moon landing.
Being able to be a part of that, super exciting.
And Wednesday's scheduled Artemis II launch is no different. Companies from around the Buckeye State have played a role in the effort to send humans once again back to the moon, the first time in over 50 years.
We all understand the gravity of launching 4 astronauts. This particular mission, they're going to be the furthest away from Earth that they've ever been.
Technology produced right here in Mason by L3 Harris is paramount to that mission's space launch system.
The avionics are really the brain of the launch vehicle.
That's the 322-foot rocket that will carry 4 astronauts into space in the Orion capsule. Space avionics chief engineer Jake Hendrickson says that a team of more than 150 people worked on the hardware.
Whether it's designing it and engineering, building it and operations and testing it.
The technology is embedded throughout different elements that make up the rocket, helping one of the most complex launch systems work in tandem.
They control everything that goes on from ignition start to steering the nozzle to steering the entire launch vehicle.
The avionics also collect data from all over the rocket, things like temperature, pressure, vibration, and load data.
Over 500 to 1,500 sensors on each stage, getting that data back down to the ground so they can post-process it, ensure everything is working as expected.
We spoke with Hendrickson right before his flight to Florida to catch the launch himself. He says he's going to be joined with about 20 people from the company.
It's exciting for the individuals that get to go see it. They get to see their hardware and all their hard work come to fruition.
Hendrickson says there is still more work to be done. There are already teams with L3 Harris working on future Artemis missions. Connor Steffen, Scripps News Group.
Ignition sequence started. All engines are started. We have ignition. 2, 1, 0. We have a liftoff.
Apollo 17, 1972, the last time humans set foot on the moon, and long before Rob Allman and Katie Aridi were born.
It feels surreal to be this close.
You can't ignore the emotion. It has been a long, arduous road to get here.
The two work at NASA Glenn Research Center here in Northeast Ohio to make sure Artemis's capsule, called Orion, that's hosting the astronauts, is ready. Rigorously tested here in Northeast Ohio before and after the Artemis I mission.
We've been building up and testing the spacecraft, getting it ready to go.
We've kind of put it through its paces and made sure that all of the systems that need to function after a launch abort were to occur.
They're just two of the many at NASA Glenn who have spent years preparing for this upcoming launch that will travel around the moon and farther into space than humans have ever gone before. A crew including the first person of color and the first woman to orbit the moon.
It's writing history for little girls to show that we can do those things too.
It is just the opening episode in an extraordinary adventure.
Artemis II is a major step toward building a base on the moon. And we asked NASA's top official, Administrator Jared Isaacman, about it during his visit to NASA Glenn back in January.
We owe it to the American people. We owe it to all of the pioneers in the 1960s who've given us the foundation to undertake this today.
Apollo was kind of like just the first foray to the lunar surface to see if we could do it. We are going back to stay this time.
For Aridi, she's already in Florida helping support the launch. For Allman, his work begins once the Orion capsule splashes down at the end of its trip. So he's taking his family to Florida for the launch, with the thousands of others eyeing history soaring in the sky.
This is like a lifelong dream come true for me. This is what I always wanted to do.
At NASA Glenn Research Center, Clay Lepard.
I'm Anthony Sabella. I spoke with a NASA Langley engineer who made the trip from Hampton to Florida to catch the blastoff and see his work in person.
Wednesday, April 1st at 6:24 p.m.
The moment NASA's Artemis II mission could launch into space. Jeremy Pinier traded his usual workspace in Hampton for a Florida launch pad to see it in person.
We're going to be looking at data and we're going to be really focused.
He and a dozen others from the Space Launch System team at NASA Langley Research Center.
It's almost surreal to have worked on one single thing for 10 years.
That was Pinier when I talked to him at Langley 4 years ago, before the launch of Artemis I.
Boosters in ignition.
When a rocket sent the Orion capsule around the moon and back. It didn't have astronauts in it then. This time, it'll have a crew of 4, beginning a similar journey as early as Wednesday night. It's the next step toward landing humans back on the lunar surface again as soon as 2028, including the first woman and first person of color to go. Pinier tells me he's one of hundreds in Hampton working on all facets of the mission, from the capsule itself to the rocket below, where Pinier is keeping his focus as lead for the SLS project. He tells me the team made some tweaks since that first mission.
We bolted 4 90-inch long fins to the rocket in order to help the flow, steady the flow as it's flying really fast through the atmosphere. And hopefully that reduces all the shaking that was experienced during the first flight and keeps our astronauts safe.
Yes, with human lives on board this time, they have to get it right.
We designed this rocket from the start to be crew rated. When we have a bad day, we have a launch abort system that could carry the crew away from the rocket as fast as possible.
The hope is, of course, that doesn't happen. If everything goes according to plan, Pinier will collect data and then 9 days later celebrate the safe return of the crew. Then it's back to work to get man to the moon once again.
Back to the Apollo days, you know, it started at Langley. It's in our blood in Hampton, Virginia, to go to the moon. It's really something that Hampton Roads residents, should be proud of.
Anthony Sabella, Scripps News Group.
Coming up, we'll talk to a former NASA astronaut about the mission's loop around the moon. Welcome back to the splashdown to Artemis. Have you ever wondered what it would be like to be in mission control during a space mission? This Tennessee man had that chance.
The 4 astronauts may be the focus, but we all know it takes an army of experts to get this rocket ship to the moon and back. Michael Pippin, a Tennessean, is on the job as we speak.
2, 1, booster ignition, and liftoff.
Pippin is part of NASA's Artemis II team and was there in mission control for the historic launch.
During the final moments of launch, there was a lot of emotions. But once we started counting at T-minus 10 and counting, that's where the room really got silent. Everyone's really dialing in on their screens and just looking at the data.
Pippin spent the past 10 years preparing for the moment. After graduating from Tennessee Tech, he applied on a lark to an ad and then found himself working in Florida for the space program.
No, Nick, I didn't really, dream about doing this when I was a kid living in Tennessee. Wasn't really something I guess we were really exposed to. Didn't really hear much about shuttle launches or Apollo days. But I knew I was going to be an engineer. And that's where I really went to Tech for, was to be an engineer.
But now Pippin is thrilled to be involved with the next step in space exploration. He's part of the team making sure this mission is a success.
Because there is a crew in the vehicle and you're just trying to keep them safe. And so any problem you're trying to identify as quickly as possible.
The good news, halfway through this mission, so far, so good. And with that, Pippin says he's going to have to buy himself a new tie.
NASA has a tie cutting tradition where after your first ever successful launch, or after a launch in a new position, the launch director will come around to your console and cut your tie. This is really a badge of honor.
Nick Barris, Scripps News Group.
Christina Cook is the first woman to the moon, and her friends from Montana were so excited to watch her succeed.
It was standing room only on the sands of Cape Canaveral.
Thousands of people.
Among those thousands, a dozen of friends who flew in just for this moment.
And liftoff.
To watch former Livingston resident Christina Cook become the first woman ever to orbit the moon.
That's our friend Christina going to the moon. Ordinary people do extraordinary things, and extraordinary people like Christina do extraordinary things too.
Tom Woods and Sherry Kepner have known Christina Cook for nearly 2 decades.
Shout out to Christina. She's such a loving and caring and inspirational individual. She's just very, she's flying to the moon, but she is incredibly down to earth.
Very Montana.
For them and the crowd, the experience was unforgettable.
How great it is to see a whole bunch of people pulling for the same thing.
It was very emotional today. Even leading up to it, I found myself becoming emotional and tearing up, and that's just me as well. But that launch was, wow.
Yeah, and I admit I teared up too. It was amazing.
And back here in Billings, 5 high school students were so excited to watch history. And yes, they were able to watch it on Moon Valley Road.
One day I hope that could be us. That'd be cool.
For Corin Wollenhagen, the launch sparked inspiration.
I find it really exciting that we're getting back into another space race, because my engineering teacher kind of said that from like the early 1900s, we had a flight of about 120 feet in about 12 seconds. And 60 years later, we were landing people on the moon.
Saley Cantrell sums it up in 3 words.
It's really cool. It's amazing. It's inspiring.
For the two, going to space could be in their future.
The idea sounds very, very amazing. I would definitely enjoy it.
I think it would be cool, even if it's a one-way trip, just to be able to go out and see Earth of how it's supposed to be.
Back in Florida, Sherry and Tom have some lasting thoughts for the team.
Let's make sure that team makes it home safely.
In Billings, Hannah Pettiferry, Scripps News Group.
Up next, a discussion with a former NASA astronaut. But before we had to break, the 4 astronauts were in space on Easter Sunday and found a way to celebrate the holiday.
We wanted to take a minute to commemorate the holiday that we have. This time of year is something that many religions and many cultures hold dear. It's a time of emotions such as joy, as well as solemnness, honoring honoring what's going on both in our world and in our religious beliefs. Another aspect of that is our family traditions. And I know for me, if I was on the earth right now, I would be with my family in Houston, the Monte Rosas, and we would be hiding confetti eggs in the backyard and watching two very sweet little girls go try to find them. So to commemorate that on board, we did hide a few eggs around the cabin. They were the dehydrated scrambled egg variety, but we're all pretty happy with them.
That's wonderful. We'll keep an eye out.
Yes, first I wanted to just say happy birthday to my father, Victor Glover Sr., and happy Easter to everyone down there on Earth. And with that, I will pass it off to Jeremy.
Thanks, Victor. Happy Easter, everyone. We're talking up here as a crew, and we did want to send a special Easter message on this day. And, no matter your faith or religion,
How do you find out more about life off Earth? You ask a former astronaut. Earlier this week, Scripps News Group had a chance to talk to a former crew member on the International Space Station about what he thought a trip around the moon would be like.
Former NASA astronaut Terry Virts joins us now. Terry, thank you for joining us on this historic day. This group of astronauts is going farther than any other crew in history. Based on your time in space, what do you think the impact will be of seeing the Earth seem like the size of a basketball held at arm's length?
Yeah, wow, that was amazing to hear Jim Lovell like that. That was really touching. I was not expecting that. And earlier today, they announced that they were going to name a crater after Carol Weissman, Reese Weissman's former wife, who unfortunately passed away from cancer. That was another very emotional moment. So we're getting some very emotional moments here on this Artemis flyby. Very cool. But I think the impact, I would love to see that. Just seeing Earth as a big planet impacted me tremendously. I remember I had this one moment that was just profound. It was like, that's my planet over there and I'm not on it. And these guys are seeing that, you know, they're going 1,000 times farther away than the space station is. And when they're on the far side of the moon, they'll have that 40-minute period. Not only is there no communication with Earth, they won't be able to see Earth. You know, none of the billions of humans on our planet won't be able to look up and see them, and they won't be able to look back and see us. They will be completely disconnected from our planet. So it's a pretty profound moment when you think about what's happening.
And, you know, the Johnson Space Center is an astronaut's lifeline when they are in outer space. How would you feel about being out of contact with NASA for 40 minutes as they go to the dark side of the moon?
It'll be great, actually. Like it's nice to have communication with Mission Control, but I know when I was on the space station or shuttle and we had those brief period, you know, 10 or 20 minutes or whatever with no comm, it was kind of nice. You can just enjoy yourselves. They won't be alone. They'll be with each other. The four of them will be together, Americans and Canadians, and I think they'll actually enjoy it. And they're not doing anything critical. The Apollo missions, when they were in lunar orbit, they actually had to do a burn, fire the engine on the far side of the moon to come back to Earth. And so there was some period of time, you know, 30 minutes or so, where nobody did the burn work or not. If the engine didn't work, they weren't ever coming back to Earth. So that was a really tense time. Right now, they're just floating in gravity, as we say. Sir Isaac Newton's in charge. You know, they're just on a gravitational floating trip back. So it'll be, I think, 40 minutes that they'll just enjoy looking out the window and seeing something that very few, well, actually no humans have ever seen, certain parts of the moon that they're going to get a chance to see.
And what are you most excited about them to potentially come back and reveal, to be able to experience? What do you think is the most exciting part of this mission?
Well, I think the human aspect of space exploration is what's really cool. I love robots. I love the Mars rovers. I really love the Hubble and Webb space telescopes, those kinds of things. I'm a space nerd. I just love learning about space. But what really excites everybody on Earth, I've had the privilege of speaking on all 7 continents about my space travel. And little Chinese kids, little South American kids, little European kids, everybody on Earth thinks space is cool. So I think sharing that human side of the mission is going to be really important. The toilet wasn't working, and everybody on Earth knows that the toilet was broken, and now it's fixed. And as a pilot on the space shuttle on my first flight, as the pilot, the toilet was my job. So I took a lot of pride in making sure that thing was working. So those types of human stories, I think, will have the most impact.
Yeah, and you mentioned the toilet. I think this spacecraft is 30% bigger than Apollo capsules, but Orion still looks mighty tight in there. So what are some of the troubleshooting sort of tactics that these astronauts are employing, and how can that better prepare them for the mission that astronauts expect to go on in a couple of years here when they actually land on the moon?
Yeah, well, those are the types of lessons that will be learned. You know, this is a 10-day mission. Once you do that, what's called the TLI burn, once you fire the engines and you're on your way to the moon, you can't abort. You can't turn around and come back. So they are gone. If something needs to be fixed, they're going to need to fix it themselves. They have radio communication most of the time with Earth, but they're going to have to do the work. There are no spare parts. You can't call up Amazon Prime and get it the next day. So those are the types of lessons. We really don't know yet what's going to break, how they're going to fix it. On Apollo 13, amazing, outstanding movie. They had to fix the carbon dioxide scrubber, and they had one was round and one was square, and they had to figure out how to put them together. So those are the types of problems we don't know yet, but I'm sure we're going to have them, and I'm sure that the smart folks here at NASA, the Canadian Space Agency, the European Space Agency, the Japanese, all these international partners have the best and brightest working on those types of problems.
Yeah, and this mission, of course, is a stepping stone for not only ones to come with landing on the moon, but potentially eventually Mars. So what is it that is so important about this mission? I think Americans here that were returning to the moon and then kind of got confused that we weren't actually landing there. Why is this an important stepping stone for what NASA hopes is to come?
Well, in any big, complicated aerospace program, as a test pilot, I learned what's called the buildup approach. And so when Boeing designs a new airliner, on the first flight, they don't load up full of passengers and fly to Tokyo. On the first flight of an airplane, you don't even raise the landing gear. You literally take off, you do a 360 and you land, and that's your first flight. And so the first flight of Orion actually happened when I was on the space station. We watched it from the ISS, the first unmanned just capsule only. So this is another step. The next step, hopefully next year, will be flying, hopefully, 2 different lunar landers to test them out in orbit. Then the mission after that, hopefully, will be actually landing on the moon. And so there's a build-up approach. There'll be a lot of smaller unmanned robotic missions to the moon, building a base, putting different types of science experiments, or maybe equipment that might be able to use the water, for example. We think there's ice frozen in craters. And so there's going to be a lot of steps. You can't do it all at once, and this will be a step-by-step process. Back in the day, we had Mercury, and then Gemini, and then Apollo. And now in the Artemis program, there's a lot of different pieces and puzzles that are building up to hopefully something much greater.
All right, former NASA astronaut Terry Virts, sir, thank you for your expertise.
Thanks for having me on.
When we return, what the astronauts saw as they looped around the moon. Welcome back to the splashdown of Artemis. I'm Maura Barrett. On Monday, Reed Wiseman, Christina Cook, Victor Glover, and Jeremy Hansen had the chance to do what no human had done before: break the record of the farthest distance traveled from Earth and see the dark side of the moon with their own eyes.
And it is on the near side, far side.
The Artemis II astronauts headed back toward Earth after completing their record-breaking journey around the moon.
We are earthbound and ready to bring you home.
The crew reaching more than 252,000 miles from Earth, shattering a record set by the Apollo 13 crew more than 50 years ago, and waking up to a message from Apollo 13 commander Jim Lovell, recorded before his death last year.
Welcome to my old neighborhood. It's a historic day, and I know how busy you'll be, but don't forget to enjoy the view.
And what a view they had. The 4-person crew witnessing an Earthrise, experiencing a total solar eclipse, and seeing the moon's far side with human eyes for the first time.
It really just bent your mind. It was an extraordinary human experience. We're so grateful for it.
And during an emotional moment, the crew naming a newly discovered crater after the late wife of Commander Reed Wiseman.
It's a bright spot on the moon, and we would like to call it Carol.
The crew also taking a call from the White House, with President Trump looking ahead toward what's next for space exploration.
We'll plant our flag once again, and this time we won't just leave footprints. We'll establish a permanent presence on the moon, and we'll push on to Mars.
That future thanks to this crew that is now homeward bound.
I'm not ready to go home. I can't believe that something this cramped of quarters can fly by and still be fun every single minute.
The naming of the moon crater after Reed Wiseman's wife was an emotional one for the crew. Scripps News Group's Jessica Davis has more on the Virginia Beach native.
4 astronauts on Artemis II made history, venturing farther from Earth than any humans before. That same day, they named 2 new craters, one honoring Commander Reed Wiseman's late wife.
The second one, and especially meaningful for this crew, is a number of years ago we started this journey in our close-knit astronaut family, and we lost a loved one.
Artemis II mission specialist Jeremy Hansen could be heard speaking over the communication device, announcing the name of 2 new craters, one named after their Orion spacecraft, Integrity, and the other named to honor Wiseman's late wife.
And so at certain times of the moon's transit around Earth, we will be able to see this from Earth. And so we lost a loved one. Her name was Carol, the spouse of Reed, the mother of Katie and Ellie.
Reed Wiseman is the commander on Artemis II. His wife Carol passed away in 2020 after a battle with cancer. According to our reporting partners at the Virginia Pilot, she was a Virginia Beach native, a graduate from First Colonial High School, James Madison University, and Virginia Commonwealth University. According to our reporting partners at the Virginia Pilot, the lunar crater is located on the boundary between the near and far side of the moon as viewed from Earth.
And it's a bright spot on the moon. And we would like to call it Carol, and you spell that C-A-R-R-O-L-L.
According to Wiseman's obituary, she worked at Children's Hospital of the King's Daughters. A spokesperson for the hospital says Wiseman worked in the emergency department as a nurse from 2000 to 2002. CHKD sent News 3 a statement saying, Carol is remembered for being a phenomenal nurse and clinical educator who contributed to the growth and development of nurses in the emergency department. From making history millions of miles away to leaving a personal mark on the moon, the Artemis II crew turned a record-breaking mission into a lasting tribute.
Many of the photos taken on the mission were done on an iPhone. We talked to our tech and travel correspondent, Jefferson Graham, about how good that phone camera actually is.
Jeff, I was shocked. An iPhone is good enough to take photos in space?
I know, isn't it amazing? Many of us go back to the big, giant Hasselblad cameras that they used to bring up on the old missions, and now they're shooting on an iPhone. Now, they're also shooting on Nikons. A lot of the most amazing pictures were taken on Nikons, but they use the iPhone for the casual pictures within the spacecraft. And some of the stuff they're showing is just mind-blowing.
How did they do it? I mean, are there special settings on our phones? I can barely take a photo here on Earth.
Oh, come now. There are no special settings. They're just doing the same pictures that the rest of us are doing, opening up the camera app and snapping away and shooting wonderful selfies and these great casual pictures. Now, there's a few shots that are silhouettes of some of the astronauts with Earth behind them out the window. And those are just so amazing. And most people don't realize that the iPhone does not take one picture at a time. It actually takes 9 of them. 9 of them are merged together into one. And that's what makes the pictures so great. A lot of these photos that they're showing are hard to get. But when you shoot 3 of them that are too light, 3 of them that are too dark, 3 of them that are normal, and you merge them all together, they produce an amazing photo. And not just in outer space, but down here on Earth as well.
That's amazing. So is it because the iPhones have improved their cameras? I mean, would the previous iPhones have done so well for photography?
I don't know. NASA has rigorous testing things that they push the cameras through, and they make the decisions. Yeah, we like this iPhone 17 Pro, and we're going to take it up there. They also chose this Nikon D50, which is an old phone an old camera from 2016. It's been discontinued. They stopped making it last year, but they like it. They like the sturdiness of it, and they decided that it can withstand the pressures that they go through up in space, and so they're using that camera as well.
That's amazing. And what else are the astronauts doing with their phones in space? I mean, I was wondering, they've got a lot of downtime and they're working hard, but when they have a moment, it's not like you can, go somewhere. Are they playing games? Are they texting? Do we know?
No games, no texting, no Bluetooth, no Wi-Fi, no internet access, just pure phone, camera snaps and note-taking, and anything else you could do. Maybe they downloaded Solitaire before they left and they could play it, but they're not connected. And that, when I take the phone on the road and I shoot photo walks on the phone, they are non-connected phones. I just use the camera, and that's it.
So, do you know, how does NASA go about selecting which cameras to bring on missions? Because you mentioned one was discontinued from 2016. Do companies have to buy sponsorships, or is it their personal choice, or does NASA just look at the results and say, that was the best picture, let's stick with that?
It's a NASA thing, and it's obviously an honor. I mean, Apple doesn't get enough to promote. Now they can say, they took our phones into space. I mean, how cool is that? But it's not a thing that just happens that they have to pay for, like a sporting event. It's a NASA thing. They find it, they test it, and they say, hey, we're going to take your phone into space.
So cool. Well, now I've just learned something, and now I have no excuse not to take great pictures here on Earth. They have a much more challenging job, and those photographs that we're seeing are incredible.
We wouldn't have Artemis II without the journey of Artemis I. How that mission set up NASA's return to the moon next. But before we go, here's another look at some of the best moon pictures the crew took. NASA missions are stepping stones. Lessons on one lead to improvements on the next.
NASA's Artemis I traveled more than 1 million miles, spent 25 days in space, and made it all the way around the moon. But in the final moments, the biggest challenge was right here on Earth, San Diego's weather.
It'll bounce around, so.
The capsule was set to splash down just 50 miles off the San Diego coast until conditions changed everything. A weather balloon revealed winds too strong for a safe recovery, forcing NASA to make a call.
We have water hazards, we have wind and weather hazards, so a lot of those we have to take into account.
So the target was moved 150 miles south toward Baja, California, a last-minute shift for a mission years in the making. But when the moment came, Artemis I still stuck the landing.
Unofficial splashdown time, 11:40.
And right there were San Diego sailors.
We're confident that we can execute this mission.
For many on board, this was more than a mission. It was a moment they had never imagined taking part in.
And preparing for this is something that you don't get to do in your career or in your lifetime.
And even with the extra distance, the energy never changed.
There's a special kind of energy on the ship right now with being able to be part of history.
The longer route meant a longer return, adding at least a day before the capsule made it back to San Diego. But after a journey around the moon, a little extra time didn't matter. Mission accomplished, and history safely back on Earth. Kimberly Hunt, Scripps News Group.
It was one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind when Neil Armstrong and crew landed on the moon. We had the chance to talk to a lead engineer who was integral to the Apollo mission.
A Coronado space engineer who played a key role in the Apollo 11 moon landing is now watching history come full circle with Artemis II, and he's sharing his perspective on what it takes to make it all happen. Ralph Longfellow is looking back at his time working on critical technology that helped get Apollo 11 to the moon.
They tested the landing radar in orbit, and when the landing radar locked up on the moon toward the surface, meaning it was working, we said, hey, we did it.
Longfellow was the lead project engineer behind the lunar landing radar, which helped guide astronauts like Neil Armstrong safely to the moon in 1969.
Neil Armstrong was flying the lunar module, but Buzz Aldrin was reading this data off of the display to tell Neil Armstrong where they were and how fast they were going.
Longfellow says the pressure was immense. Every calculation, every test had to be perfect.
I guess I was lucky to do that job. I did that job the best I could.
And that job also meant training the astronauts on how to use the landing radar on Apollo 11.
We're not touching anything, but I'm pointing out with a pointer different parts and explaining how they work or what they do for the landing radar.
Now, decades later, he's watching history repeat itself, but with a new generation. NASA's Artemis II mission sent astronauts around the moon and paving the way for future landings.
We learned a lot with Apollo. We'll learn a lot more with Artemis. We'll put people on the moon. I just hope they have a good landing radar when they go to land.
Longfellow says he's proud of the work people are doing, and he knows the journey to the moon is far from over and just getting started. I'm Karina Vargas, Scripps News Group.
The 10-day Artemis II mission capturing the attention of millions on Earth. Welcome back. The Artemis mission is making memories across the United States.
As history is being written in space with NASA's Artemis missions, one man is making sure those moments are never forgotten through the monuments that he built, one which will hopefully stand here at the Air and Space Museum in the near future. While the world is watching history unfold with Artemis II's journey around the moon, Stephen Barber, who creates monuments, is already thinking about how to preserve it.
People just have no idea the impossibility of this. To put 4 people in a Volkswagen and to send them around the dark side of the moon.
Barber has spent 9 years turning space history into something you can see and touch through monuments like this one, a tribute to the Apollo 11 crew and local legend Sally Ride. Now he's focused on raising funding to create a 7-foot-tall statue of Sally Ride and bring it to the San Diego Air and Space Museum to honor her as the first American woman in space and a trailblazer in science.
Sally, it's where she should have been in the first place. I mean, she was from the Valley here in Southern California, but her real home was La Jolla. It's important for a little girl to see a girl. I mean, it's just important because monuments are really powerful.
But as Barber builds the past, he's also already looking ahead with Artemis II.
There was 100% plans for an Artemis monument.
He believes this moment deserves to be set in stone.
This will be a very important monument because this has the first woman, it has the first Canadian, it has the first African American. But I mean, it's a very eclectic crew. We've never had anything like this ever.
Barber says what inspires his work is the great space pioneers that have paved the way, and he hopes that his work will inspire generations to come. I'm Karina Vargas, Scripps News Group.
In 1969, half a century ago, our nation achieved not only one of its most ambitious projects, but one of the most unifying moments for the country.
At 15 seconds, guidance is internal.
The world watched and held its breath.
6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. We have a liftoff. Liftoff on Apollo 11.
As mankind attempted to step into another world. Fulfilling a goal set by President John F. Kennedy less than a decade before.
We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard.
And I said, man, I mean, can't possibly do that.
Little did Charlie Duke know he would have a front row seat to the historic mission, becoming an astronaut in 1966.
Since the earliest time, man has imagined this moment. The moment when his fellow man would make the first journey to the moon.
The world would soon come to know Duke's voice. Serving as Capcom, he communicated directly with the Apollo 11 astronauts. Initially, he says the mission was running smoothly.
Almost immediately, we started having these series of problems.
Communications were spotty, and the landing computer was signaling an overload.
But the tension with all of these problems building up began to mount in mission control. And so the closer we got to the ground, the more tense it became.
The crew was off target, forced to fly manually to find a safe spot to land, with only minutes left of fuel.
So you hung on every foot of altitude and every second at the end there. But we made it with a few seconds to go.
Houston, Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed. Roger, Tranquility. We copy you on the ground. You got a bunch of guys about to turn blue. We're breathing again. Thanks a lot.
Later on, when I watched Walter Cronkite just slumped over the desk, a sigh of relief that we made it.
It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
Unifying words that would soon echo around the world.
For a while, that really united, I think, our country, and we could point to something with pride, job well done.
Duke was honored at the San Diego Air and Space Museum for his role in Apollo 11, as well as his own moon landing 3 years later.
The beauty of it and the wonder and the excitement and the adventure, all of those emotions rolled and feelings rolled into one.
Some way, when those two Americans stepped on the moon,
people of this world were brought closer together.
It's a moment Duke still relives 50 years later, when he hopes the world will see again.
Apollo 11.
Really, almost nothing's impossible.
Why the Pacific off the coast of San Diego for the splashdown? Let's find out.
The anticipation continues to build for the return of Artemis II to Earth, and instrumental in that re-entry is the pilot who credits his time at MCAS Miramar as shaping his astronaut journey.
Astronaut actually means star sailor. My Navy experience was pivotal in getting this job.
That's Artemis II pilot and Navy Captain Victor Glover reflecting on a long Navy career that included a year stationed at MCAS Miramar in 2002 as a test pilot flying FA-18 Hornets. In interviews, he's credited that experience as very relevant to him becoming an astronaut. Is it a surprise that Glover would point to his Miramar experience as formative for his astronaut journey?
If he didn't, I'd be disappointed in him.
Jim Kitrick is president of the San Diego Air and Space Museum and a former Navy pilot himself.
That spacecraft is an airplane. It's a high-performance airplane. This is a test pilot's mission extraordinaire. I mean, this is everything about testing out that Orion capsule.
Kitrick says piloting the Orion draws directly on Glover's skill set as a test pilot.
Very methodical, okay? He will step his way through the procedure.
From mental checklists and diagnosing issues quickly to working under pressure.
Slowing things down to make sure that everything that is done is correct.
As Artemis makes its re-entry, Kitrick says Glover will play a key role.
Communicating as he can, here's where we are, here's what I'm seeing in Orion. What he's seeing needs to be what they're seeing.
That includes a symphony of elements, from guidance and navigation to propulsion systems.
That they're on course, that they're going to hit the right point in the water, that the rescue is going to go well. Okay, that's his charter, that's his responsibility. Because of that, military training is what's going to ensure absolute safety for the crew.
Michael Chen, Scripps News Group.
Thank you for joining us this past hour as we celebrated the Artemis II mission from space and right here on Earth. Up next, we'll have live coverage as these brave and record-breaking astronauts return to Earth. Stay tuned.
Copy, going off Fox. Great flying with you, Houston. Nice vehicle.
We're down to the wire now. We're down to the end of the mission.
The countdown is on. The Artemis II crew is about to make their triumphant return to Earth.
I've actually been thinking about entry since April 3rd, 2023, when we got assigned to this mission.
It is not going to be a smooth ride. The Orion capsule will hit Earth's atmosphere at nearly 24,000 miles per hour.
Riding a fireball through the atmosphere is profound as well.
The U.S. Navy putting in the final preparations on the water off San Diego ahead of the astronauts' trip home.
We will enter the capsule, make sure the astronauts are okay, render medical aid as necessary, and extract them from the capsule.
The world now watching as this historic 10-day mission nears the end, and we have live team coverage from San Diego to Denver to West Palm Beach. Oh, countdown to splashdown. How exciting is this? That is a live look inside that Orion capsule right now, the Artemis II mission, inching closer to Earth each and every section. We have live team coverage coast to coast. We're talking San Diego to West Palm Beach, Denver, all of our Scripps friends. They're helping us out today. I'm Mike Trim. Hey, Sammy, how are you?
Hey, I'm meteorologist Sammy Squires talking more about the weather and whether it's going to be good or not for splashdown.
Yeah, that's all important there. We're going to kick things off, though, in San Diego. Mr. Ben Higgins, the anchor of the hour at our Scripps station there. Ben, you've been scouting things out at the Air and Space Museum. Seems to be a packed house behind you. Set the scene for us there.
Yeah, Mike, the excitement is definitely building. We're as close as you can get to the splashdown, just 50 to 100 miles off of our coast here in San Diego in the Pacific Ocean. Just outside to my left in the atrium, they call it their pavilion of flight. There's already been hundreds of people who have gathered for a watch party here to see the coverage on the screens and anticipate the 5:07 Pacific, 8:07 splashdown of the Orion capsule for the Artemis II mission. You know, in here, still a lot of museum goers who are touring the history of spaceflight. It just chronicles some amazing things, including the actual Apollo 9 capsule that's right behind me. I'll have more on that in just a little bit, but everybody here is excited. We're as close as you can get. Now, you could go to our coast, you wouldn't be able to see anything 50 to 100 miles away. It's a little too far away, so we're like everybody else. We're watching the coverage on our screens and hoping for the best that everyone comes in safely here in just over an hour. Mike?
Well, we can see people peeking in the capsule there behind you. It sounds like a big crowd. We'll take a look at that in just a little bit. Ben Higgins, born and raised in San Diego, by the way. Great to talk to him there in San Diego, where that splashdown will happen off of this coast. You know, as the Artemis II crew heads down tonight to Earth, the most dangerous part of that mission could still be ahead. All eyes now on that heat shield for the spacecraft after issues surfaced during an earlier test flight. Let's bring in Scripps News Group's business and tech correspondent, Mara Barrett, joining us right now. You are in Denver right now. I just want to ask you, the engineers that are watching this most closely, what would you say the one part they really need to work correctly is?
Well, it's actually the next hour is integral, right? But it's specifically the moment that is 50 minutes away from right now is when the spacecraft is going to make its first contact with the upper layer of the atmosphere. And that's when it's going to face 3,000 to 5,000 degrees Fahrenheit. And that's when the heat shield really comes into play. We were able to hear from the lead flight engineer of the Artemis II mission within the last 24 hours. So I want you to get a peek inside his brain and what he told us about what they're focusing on.
I have a whole checklist in my head that we're going through of all the things that have to happen. We've got the CMSM SEP separation between the service module and the crew module. That has to go right. And then you have the heat shield that has to work. So it's not so much 13 minutes. It's more in my head about an hour and a half of things that have to go right. And that's the way I think of them.
And so that heat shield is specifically referring to a special coating that's on the bottom of the spacecraft. And it's pretty self-explanatory, but it's protecting the spacecraft and the astronauts inside from overheating. And the reason why this is being called into question is because during the Artemis I mission back in 2022, that was an unmanned spacecraft, but there were major issues with the heat shield coming back into the atmosphere. It arrived back to Earth, damaged with some cracks, pieces had come off. And so experts were really anxious about the agency, that NASA, moving forward using the exact same model when it comes to the heat shield. Now, NASA has said that they feel confident. The crew says they feel confident as well. They've actually slightly altered how they're going to be re-entering the atmosphere at a slightly different angle. They're also going to be reducing the amount of time that they're in the atmosphere, that 6-minute blackout of communications that we've been talking about. And so that's something that the crew says that they remain to be confident about, but obviously there's risk, there's humans on board coming back to Earth, and so that's what engineers are definitely going to be looking at closely in the next 45 minutes or so, Mike.
Yeah, you know, definitely better that it happens in that test flight than now, as every key moment is critical in this splashdown. There in Denver, Mar, thank you so much, and we'll talk to you in just a little bit. Stick around. So a question a lot of us had in mind, how does that re-entry even work, and how is it all going to maintain itself when that capsule does make re-entry? NASA says Orion will slow, get this, from nearly 25,000 miles per hour all the way down to about 300. That's when a system of parachutes will deploy, bringing the speeds of the spacecraft down to about 20 miles per hour as it splashes down into the Pacific. Okay, the weather, integral part about this being pulled off. Let's bring in First Alert meteorologist Sammy Squires. When it comes to the splashdown and recovery, NASA keeping a close watch on several weather criterias. And I was asking you earlier, I mean, it can't be too wavy out there in the Pacific, right?
Yeah, I mean, there are multiple parameters that go into it. Of course, the weather being essential here for that good splashdown here, as well as the recovery too. So the people that are out on the boats and visibility with the helicopter. So there has to be multiple things in place in order for everything to go well here. So what these parameters are wave heights under 6 feet, sustained winds under 28 miles an hour, and then no rain or lightning within about a 35-mile radius from where the expected splashdown would be. Plus, good visibility and limited cloud coverage are also very important for all these vessels. So really watching these components here over the next couple of hours, and we've been watching it all day long. Now, looking at our satellite and radar, we have been seeing some showers and thunderstorms actually well north of the area. So San Diego, though, look at that, beautiful conditions altogether. We've been watching this system here that's going to push on shore here in the next couple of hours, and it could bring some showers towards San Diego, but for now, things are looking really great out there for the splashdown. Now, wave heights, we've been watching that because, of course, like I mentioned, it has to be under 6 feet, and it looks really good. So under 4 feet are the expected wave heights at the current moment. So things are shaping up really nicely in terms of the splashdown. Hoping all goes well, though, with this. Back to you, Mike.
All right, Sammy, thank you so much. Listen, we're up against a break right now. I want to show you this. Yep, that is inside the capsule. 10-day mission comes down to this, splashing down on Earth successfully. Folks, we're not too far off from that, but right now, we'll be right back after this.
Less than an hour away now from the scheduled splashdown of the Orion capsule in the Artemis II mission. I'm at San Diego at the Air and Space Museum, but there's a lot of watch parties going on. One here on the West Coast, but not the only one. Let's check in with my Scripps News colleague, Karina Vargas, who's at the Fleet Science Center, monitoring some of the other fans watching. Karina?
Yeah, well, it's still a very exciting time here. There's a lot of excitement here at the Fleet Science Center. Now, the inside of the theater is already filled with people. It's a packed house, but there is also a live stream right out here where people are getting to watch the NASA's live stream. But aside from the watch party here at the Fleet Science Center, there are people that have been coming to check out this Artemis II exhibit and counting down the minutes to the splashdown. Like this week marks Artemis Week here at the Fleet Science Center. It's a 3-day celebration of NASA's return to science. But here on the first floor, visitors can walk through the pathway to the moon exhibit, getting an up-close look at the technology and mission behind Artemis II. The fleet is also serving as the official public viewing site for NASA's Orion spacecraft recovery. Like I mentioned, hundreds have already headed into the sold-out show into the Giant Dome Theater to watch the splashdown live as the crews return from their journey around the moon. Again, we are a little less than an hour away from that splashdown, and people here are still finding their seats. Some are still exploring, and others are really just taking in the moment of this historic event. Now, again, this really is just an exciting time. People that we've talked to say it really is amazing to see such a moment like this, again, to witness this once in a lifetime opportunity, especially since this is the first time in more than 50 years that humans have gone this far into space. But for now, I'll send it back to you.
Yeah, thank you, Karina. San Diego's always the place to be, but it especially feels like the place to be tonight. I see so much excitement around here. People who are just into science, into space travel, really excited about seeing this capsule come home. Let's send it back to you, Mike.
You know, whether it's covering the San Diego Padres or space in San Diego, Ben Higgins is our guy tonight for sure there at the Air and Space Museum. We'll check back in just a little bit. Ben, thank you for that. You know, NASA is keeping their eyes on that forecast for the next hour. Crucial to make sure it's safe for that crew to come home for sure. This is a live look at the San Diego harbor. It looks all calm right now. We know about weather conditions here in South Florida, how it can impact your daily life, but this is quite the mission that it would impact if it were the opposite, if it didn't look well. Right now, First Alert meteorologist Sammy Squires. Normally, we're forecasting the East Coast. You're looking at the West Coast there, California, and what's right off the coast of San Diego to see if the conditions are favorable. How's it looking?
You know, Mike, you also have to think about the difference from coast to coast. The humidity is so much different for California and that cold water. So that is actually acting to help with the recovery here of the splashdown because, of course, we are seeing less of those thick clouds in the sky here. Now, there are a couple of showers way up towards the north, but overall in San Diego, things are looking really good. We are seeing a partly, maybe occasionally, mostly cloudy sky here. Winds are nice and light, mainly coming from the west or the west-northwest, around 5 to 10 miles an hour. Temperatures feeling fantastic out there in the mid-60s and less than a 10% chance of rain, which is, of course, the most important thing that we've been monitoring here. So why is splashdown in the Pacific? Well, the ocean actually acts as a soft landing pad in opposed to the hard ground. Now, water actually provides a controlled cushioning impact here that actually absorbs energy. And also in the water, there's a large, vast space for that landing. So that's kind of why they actually land in the water in opposed to obviously going up from land. So we'll keep an eye on these weather conditions over the next hour and even 2 hours as the recovery from the splashdown continues.
It seems like yesterday we were just up there on the Space Coast when it launched. So 10 days later, here we are, Sammy, talking about the splashdown. Don't go too far. We'll check back in with you a little bit. We're tracking that Orion spacecraft making its way back to Earth. In fact, take a look at this. Again, a live look at the San Diego harbor. All conditions favorable right now as the countdown continues. Team coverage on the ground, awaiting history as well. Scripps News Group's Max Goldwasser, he works at our Scripps station in San Diego. He is there at San Diego's Air and Space Museum. And I'm listening to my producers right now as we are going from producer to reporter. And where are we going, guys? Okay. Gotcha. So listen, we will check in with Max. He's scanning the crowd. There's a lot going on in San Diego right now, but hey, you wouldn't know it from this shot. And you can't even see it from eye shot. You see people kind of have maybe telescopes there so they can see about 50 to 100 miles off the shore. You won't be able to see it with the naked eye out of San Diego as you're looking at, but as the crew does get ready for re-entry, as you see that camera pan just a little bit, listen, there is a team in California that's been rehearsing for this recovery operation. How about the USS John P. Murtha quickly approaching the splashdown zone in the Pacific off the coast of San Diego? Navy Lieutenant Commander and diver Jesse Wang, he's a doctor leading that medical team. His team will be the first to make contact with that crew.
We will enter the capsule, make sure the astronauts are okay, render medical aid as necessary, and extract them from the capsule.
NASA says it will also have several aircraft tracking Orion's 13-minute re-entry journey that starts about 75 miles above the Earth's surface. Entering Earth's atmosphere, Orion is going to top speeds of a whopping 20,000 miles per hour. And then it's going to lose communication as plasma intensifies around the capsule. Remember, they lost communication about 40 minutes when they were on that dark side of the moon. And they are going to lose communication briefly again right before the parachutes deploy, allowing for that soft landing in the Pacific. And listen, we're going to go to break right now, but we are getting ready for that splashdown 8:02. We're getting closer and closer. We'll be right back.
You're watching WPTV. part of the Scripps News Group.
The excitement is building. It is the splashdown of Artemis II. The Orion capsule will splash down in the Pacific Ocean, and you're taking a live look right now at NASA Command. They are really putting together all the dots, connecting them, and making sure those astronauts get back to Earth safely. Off the coast of San Diego, and that is where we bring in Scripps News is our station there, Ben Higgins. He's at anchor, and you have, it appears to be the director of the Air and Space Museum. What a treat to hear from him today.
Yeah, Mike, quite a day. This is Jim Kidrick. He's the president and CEO of the San Diego Air and Space Museum. Kind enough to let us come in. It is a busy day here, Jim. The viewing party outside the museum, everything's rocking and rolling right now.
I'll tell you, it's off the charts. And certainly we're very excited. And San Diegans, and I think Southern California, we found a lot of people have driven a great distance to participate in this. They're excited.
One thing I love is where we are set up right now in front of the Apollo 9 capsule. That was 2 missions before Apollo 11, just like Artemis II, 2 missions before Artemis IV, which is scheduled to land on the moon. The great parallels and what great history in this building. What can you tell me about this?
Well, you know, and of course Artemis II is kind of like Apollo 8, okay? Apollo 9 is going to be 3, and Apollo 11 is going to be 4. So as they recreate this with new modern stuff, you know, these are test flights beyond test flights because they have to test a new capsule, a new rocket, the crew themselves, the equipment on board. Remember, I always tell the story, they didn't have the technology you and I have in our pocket in our cell phone, you know, when they went up on Mercury, Gemini, and Apollo. So it is a really, really great story, and I think people are coming together to honor certainly the effort, okay, but also they want to vision the future. They want to be with it.
I wanted to ask you about that because you see the excitement here in the building, around the country for what's going on right now. What do you think that does? I mean, not just for the museum, but just kind of bringing people together to pull for something all collectively.
I think you're absolutely correct. It's kind of that American exceptionalism that the term a lot of people use. Okay, it's the greatness of our country realizing we're back into deep space. We're certainly a leader in this field, okay, of deep space exploration. And I think they all know that we're not going to just do a one and done, okay, that we're going to do more and more and more, and we're going to prove we can live on the moon in deep space before we go to Mars.
And lastly, for people who are watching all over the country, our Scripps News coverage, want to come out to San Diego with their families, tell them a little bit about the Air and Space Museum and what you guys have to offer here.
Well, we've got everything. Just right to our left is one of the original rock boxes on Apollo 11, you know, the Apollo 9 capsule. It's we've got tons and tons of stuff that helps share the past, but also helps envision that future that is so important for all these young people here. There's stuff going on for them.
Jim Kidrick, President and CEO of the San Diego Air and Space Museum, a real gem here in America's finest city. Thanks for spending a few minutes with us. Get back to the party.
Thanks to you for being here.
So we've got live coverage here from San Diego. It continues on. It just keeps getting more and more people coming on in here, Mike. It's really an exciting time out here on the West Coast.
Yeah, very exciting to be coast to coast live there at the Air and Space Museum in San Diego. The past, the present, and the future. We are talking about it all. We'll check back in with you guys next half hour also with our Scripps teams in Denver at our station. We are just about 36 minutes or so out from splashdown in the Pacific Ocean off the coast of San Diego. Commercial break right now. We'll be right back after this with the splashdown of Artemis II.
watching Scripps News.
I wanted to be a reporter since I was 4 years old. I always knew that I wanted to tell stories. I feel really proud that I work at Scripps News. Our reporters get to delve into the topics that we care about.
And liftoff. The world watched this moment. A roar, a flame, and a mission lifting off into history.
Indescribable.
As Artemis II traveled far beyond Earth and around the moon.
It is absolutely spectacular.
But the final chapter of the mission is happening off the San Diego coast.
Ooh, how exciting it is. Listen, thank you for joining us for our Artemis II Splashdown special coverage continuing right now at 7:30. We are eagerly waiting until the moments of that splashdown. That is a live look right there at that Orion spacecraft in space, 8:07 Eastern. So 5:07 Pacific, and that in the Pacific Ocean is where it'll splash down off the coast of San Diego. And we have live team coverage for us right now. You see Ben Higgins, he is right there in San Diego. Mara Barrett, she is in Denver. We're here in West Palm Beach, so we literally have the entire length of the country Sammy Squires covered for this.
I'm First Alert meteorologist Sammy Squires, tracking the weather near San Diego and what you guys can expect looking like. Right now, everything is a go for splashdown.
What, a little smooth? Good to go?
Smooth, good to go.
It was just yesterday we were up there on the Space Coast for the launches.
I know, crazy to think about.
Yeah. So here we are.
10 days later.
10 days later, fast forward, we're going to kick things off in San Diego, where it all goes down tonight. And just a short time from now, as a matter of fact, Ben Higgins, he is an anchor at our Scripps station in San Diego. He's live at the Air and Space Museum. Packed house, Ben. How's it looking right now for you?
Packed house. A lot of the museum goers are heading out to the pavilion to see the live coverage. Still a lot of people out here looking at the exhibits, chronicling the history of flight and space travel, which is absolutely incredible. But what's really cool, I heard Sammy talking about the weather. It is a really nice day. Here in San Diego, they picked the Pacific Ocean because obviously calm waters and usually good weather for landing. In fact, it's so good that Hollywood shoots a lot of movies on this same area off the coast of San Diego and Baja California, including Pearl Harbor, Master and Commander, and Titanic, all filmed in a similar area where the splashdown is going to take place in a little bit. But that drama is fake. This drama is real. And you can see everyone who comes here, they are captivated by the real stakes, the real emotion as they cheer for these astronauts as they come back. Obviously, very dangerous mission, especially the re-entry portion of it. So I think everyone's here just waiting a little bit, bated breath as they get ready for the splashdown coming up in the next 35, 36 minutes. Mike?
Yeah, I was loving getting the tour of the museum right there with the spacesuits. So much history there, so much history here on our Space Coast. Ben Higgins really laying it out for us there with our Scripps station in San Diego. Thank you, Ben. Don't go too far. We'll talk to you in a bit. Beyond the science and the risk, Artemis II is delivering something we have not seen in decades, and that's those stunning pictures from deep space, from iPhone to onboard cameras. The crew, the 4 astronauts, they are documenting history in real time. I mean, think about it. They went farther than any human ever has in space. Business and tech correspondent Mara Barrett, she is back with us out of Denver, running through the highlights. These pictures, crystal clear. You gotta love it.
Absolutely. I mean, I don't know about you, but I spent so much time just going through the gallery, updating it anytime NASA updated it, because this mission wasn't just historic. It's highly documented and with so much more technological advance since the last time we got these photos, right? And to put into perspective, there are 32 cameras and imaging devices on board. 15 of them were mounted in and outside the capsule. That's how we got some of those selfie-style photos of the spaceship itself. And then 17 different cameras handheld by the astronauts, some of them as simple as iPhones, but still delivering this amazing quality of these photos that were sent back. If you want to run through some of my personal favorites, first, there's that image of Christina Cook looking out the window, her braid floating in zero gravity, and it really just emphasizes that human moment of wonder and perspective, just showing how far away they really were from Earth and how small it looked looking out those window photos. Then obviously that stunning photo that I think everyone has seen at this point, the one that NASA titled Hello World, the Earth just glowing, backlit by the sun. And something that the astronauts consistently talked about was just seeing Earth as they did, and emphasizing that we are all on one planet together, all in this together, and kind of emphasizing that unity. And then my favorite personally, the crew celebration, the moon joy photo that we saw after they completed that lunar flyby, all of them hugging each other. You can see how exuberant they are, smiling, laughing. They clearly just had a wonderful day, and that happened on Monday and was a 6-hour observation period as they were traveling around the moon. And so it's really just goes to show these photos will go down in history for the next several decades, right, as we wait for the 2028 moon landing that's planned. But I also want to play you something that the astronauts heard when they woke up that morning before they did the lunar flyby. They were graced with a message from Apollo's pilot, one of the other astronauts from 1969, Jim Lovell. He had recorded a special message for them right before his death last year. So I'm going to hear a little bit of what they heard on Monday morning.
Welcome to my old neighborhood. It's a historic day, and I know how busy you'll be, but don't forget to enjoy the view.
And enjoy the view, they clearly did. We saw so many of those photos come through. This was one of the most visually documented deep space missions ever. All of the astronauts taking part in terms of taking those photos. And so this really just goes to show how much we were able to learn, how much the scientists were able to document just because they were able to take that many more images that can then serve science going forward, Mike.
Those were so anticipated, those pictures, to get back to not only mission control, but for all of us to see and share with our friends, just like we're sharing them right now, these memories. Thank you, Maura. And if you're wondering what they woke up to this morning, those astronauts, the wake-up song was Run to the Water by Live and Free by the Zac Brown Band. They got to pick some of their own wake-up songs, but if you think about running to the water, they want to get to the water today for that all-important splashdown. Artemis II mission pilot Victor Glover recently shared this about that re-entry. He was answering questions Wednesday.
I've actually been thinking about entry since April 3rd, 2023, when we got assigned to this mission. And one of the first press conferences we were asked, what are we looking forward to? And I said splashdown, and it's kind of humorous, but it's literal as well, that we have to get back. There's so much data that you've seen already, but all the good stuff is coming back with us.
All right, let's take a look right now. We have a live look, as a matter of fact, and we're going to listen in. I believe it's Mission Control. They're talking to the Orion capsule right now. I'm going to talk over this, actually, and let's bring those live pictures up. Okay, Mission Control. Let's set the scene here. They have all of the crew ready to go. Maybe, you know, kind of a boring computer shot, but there's so much important things right there on that screen. And let's kind of just listen in how they're talking to the astronauts, if there is some audio available.
Integrity copies. Looks good on board, Jackie.
So the final maneuver is now complete. Our trajectory for a splashdown in the Pacific 29 minutes from now is set and will not be amended any further. And we have the right angle of attack to mitigate any excessive heat loads on the vehicle during entry interface.
Integrity Houston, a heads up about comm coverage. When you perform the 180 roll, for the first minute or so in that attitude, we expect about a minute LOS.
Okay,
we copy.
A lot of technical talk back and forth, but right now, as we stand right now, about 7:37, they're doing a raise burn, as they call it.
So for those who are watching the series of events coming up, we will enter the first traces of Earth's atmosphere 14 minutes, 45 seconds from now. 6:53 and 30 seconds is what is pegged for entry interface at an altitude of 400,000 feet, traveling at approximately 34,800 feet per second, range to touchdown or splashdown 1,701 nautical miles. 24 seconds after entry interface, we will enter a 6-minute blackout period, in which we will lose communications with the crew. This is expected due to the buildup of plasma around the vehicle. That's an ionization effect due to the collision, if you will, of the velocity of the spacecraft with the friction of the Earth's atmosphere. That 6-minute blackout is expected to begin at 6:53 and 54 seconds p.m. Central Time. During that period of time, we will reach our peak speed of 24,661 miles per hour. That comes just short, based on unofficial data from the flight dynamics officer right now, will come just short of the velocity record set by Apollo 10 of 24,791 miles per hour in 1969. We expect peak heating on the vehicle at 6:54 and 52 seconds p.m. Central Time, a minute and 22 seconds into entry interface. At that point, we will be just 204,000 feet above the Earth, traveling at 33,000 feet per second. The blackout period is expected to last 6 minutes. We expect that blackout period to end at 6:59 and 55 seconds p.m. Central Time. From the end of the blackout period until splashdown, it is just 7 minutes, at which point we'll start deploying the series of parachutes to slow integrity down to an ultimate splashdown velocity of just 19 miles an hour.
We see the same, waiting for the 180 rolls.
Right now, you're listening to NASA talking back and forth with the Integrity capsule for that Artemis II mission. As you heard, a very interesting thing that jumps out. There will be a 6-minute blackout of communications from our time, 7:53 to 7:59, at which point they'll be going at their fastest
deployment
speeds.
Sequence once
and we
again,
can turn that audio down a little bit as I
segments.
talk over it and just kind of see this. This is mission control right here. I mean, everything is going to plan so far for these 4 brave astronauts that went around the moon. 10-day mission, farther than any humans ever in space. And now, I mean, just in a matter of less than an hour, they are going to be back on Earth in the Pacific Ocean, and then a lot more needs to take place. And the question is, how does that re-entry all work? Well, NASA says it, and you've kind of been hearing the communication back and forth that it's going to slow from nearly 25,000 miles an hour right after that 6-minute blackout, and then to about 300 miles per hour, so slowing down considerably. The heat around it, when it comes through the Earth's atmosphere, that kinetic energy just turns into heat, and it is really, really just a ball of fire almost. A system of parachutes are going to deploy, and it's going to bring the speed down from 300 miles per hour to about 20 miles per hour, and then it will splash down into the Pacific Ocean. As we come back here to the studio, let's bring in meteorologist Sammy Squires right now, because weather plays such a big part of this, Sammy. And I know when we were up at the Space Coast near Kennedy Space Center, actually right across the water from it in Titusville, it wasn't raining at the time, but you said with clouds, as far as liftoff went, if it went through the clouds, it could cause lightning by just the amount of energy that it goes. You were explaining to me much better than I can.
No, that was great. I mean, yeah, with those cumulus clouds, they can't be too thick. Cumulonimbus clouds, of course, you could get those thunderstorms. But even with cumulus clouds, the rocket heading through there, it just is producing so much energy that it could create that artificial lightning. So that was a big factor when it came to liftoff. Now, splashed down, a little bit different, but I mean, we're still dealing with the same parameters: visibility, cloud cover, as well as rain, lightning. None of those can be factors here for the actual splashdown, and also for the recovery too, because we have to get the boats out there, we have to get the helicopters, make sure everything is good to go with the science there of actually retrieving the capsule.
Yeah. So right now, this is, and pardon me, I just want to as this is a fluid situation, producers, this is the John Murtha that we're seeing on the right-hand side. Is that correct? Okay, that is a U.S. Navy ship, the John P. Murtha, and what that is an amphibious docking ship. Big Boy, the L class, and they have been out to sea because from there, that is where the divers are going to go out to retrieve that capsule. I'm going to get a closer look here. I'm a Navy veteran myself, and you could just see some of the sailors there and some of the people there. That had been Bay Harbor as well that we were looking at earlier. But what we do know is the seas are calm. The conditions are calm right now, as it would appear. Sammy, you said earlier, if it's anything over 6 feet, that's kind of dangerous for that mission, right?
Yeah, it has to be under 6 feet, and the good news is it's looking like max of 3-foot waves way off out there, because we're talking nearly 100 miles offshore from San Diego. So the good news is the seas are nice and calm, and that is really important for the actual retrieval. But also the winds not bad either. It has to be sustained under 28 miles an hour, so that is looking great. And also you could tell based on the sky here, things are really good. Only those thin cirrus clouds, what I'm seeing off in the distance, and this is of course over the water, so I don't see any of those thick cumulonimbus clouds or cumulus clouds off in the distance either. So limited cloud coverage looks really good for us, as well as all of these parameters for the splashdown as well as the recovery.
It's just so interesting, the whole science of this, and I believe what we're taking a look at on the left, that is the Orion capsule. Correct me if I'm wrong, producers. What we're taking a look at there on the left-hand side. Right-hand side is the John P. Murtha U.S. Navy ship, and the left side right there is the Orion capsule, the view out of it right now. 4 astronauts. Talk about something they've probably been very anxious, nervous about, but trained for, I would say, thousands of times at this point, this re-entry and getting familiar with it. This is just quite the moment here. As you can see, everybody out on the bow there of the John P. Murtha. The ship obviously not going to go directly next to the capsule. They're sending Seahawk helicopters out, and it's a team of 4 divers that are very experienced. And matter of fact, on this mission itself, let's listen into what Mission Control is saying to those astronauts. We're giving it a pause here. Sometimes there can be a delay between Mission Control and that Integrity capsule. The Orion capsule that is scheduled to splash down. You can see some light there right on the horizon. And
Houston, in instruction 509, we are not below 0.2.
Right, so you're hearing them talking to Houston.
Integrity, no action required.
Integrity.
Yeah. So 6 minutes, in about 6 minutes is when they have a communication blackout. Remember, there was a blackout, and I'll even bring Sammy here. We'll talk about this. There was that blackout when they went around the dark side of the moon for 40 minutes.
Atmosphere at an altitude of 400,000 feet, traveling about 34,882 feet per second, ranged.
That's so fast.
That is incredibly fast.
701 nautical miles.
We're kind of dipping into hearing what NASA's saying, and we're kind of narrating it for you folks. If you're joining us here on the stream on WPTV.com or your WPTV app or anywhere across the Scripps News Network online, we have coast-to-coast coverage. We have our crew in San Diego, Ben Higgins,
just a reminder,
Maura Barrett is in Denver.
24 seconds after entry interface, we do expect to lose communications with the vehicle and the crew during a 6-minute blackout period, when a plasma shield will build up around the spacecraft due to the ionization, due to heating effects.
Sammy, you know what I love about this? This is a real-life science lesson happening at warp speed.
We will have a blackout.
Yeah, and the thing about this too, Mike, is this is one of the big parameters that they are testing with Artemis II. Also, that heat shield. So this is very important, what they're speaking about right now, making sure that everything is okay, that it's running to plan. And of course, we're getting it live at the current moment of what they are saying, speaking to the actual astronauts.
Yeah, listening in there. I mean,
Houston concurs.
Okay, this is something that they...
blackout period to begin at 6:53 and 54 seconds p.m. Central Time. And again, will last about 6 minutes in duration.
Yep, so just about under 5 minutes right now. Commander Reed Weissman, pilot Victor Glover, mission specialist Christina Cook,
We're 4 minutes away from entry interface.
Canadian astronaut Jeremy Hansen. What a 10 days it has been for them. The nation has watched. It has been such a great American moment as well. I just have to say, here from South Florida and all around the country, it seems like everybody watched that liftoff, and we have been following them closely, loosely, but everybody's been kind of in tune with this over the past 10 days. And what a proud, and Sammy and everybody on the stream right now, look at that view right there. Planet Earth, home. Those astronauts are coming home. That's a live picture on the left from that Integrity capsule, that Orion capsule from the Artemis II mission.
Yeah, and Mike, they are expected to enter the atmosphere near Hawaii and then make that slow, or I shouldn't say slow, that fast descent all the way back down and eventually splash down towards San Diego off the coastline. And
we do have the countdown clock on the right-hand bottom side, if you can see that.
From Integrity, as it crosses from southwest to northeast across the Pacific Ocean, 3 minutes from entry interface.
A good call by Sammy Squires. You said it right before mission control did. And if
16.5 minutes till splashdown.
If we stop talking, it's only to give way to NASA at this point, as it's so incredible.
The USS John P. Murtha and the recovery team is on station and in position, as are the airborne imagery assets that we as Artemis enters the Earth's atmosphere and through parachute deployment.
John P. Murtha roughly carries, could be upward of 700 sailors depending on the mission requirement, but it is playing a huge part. It shows that U.S. Navy and NASA connection that has been so strong over the years.
All of Integrity systems are in great shape. The crew is ready to complete its mission just 15.5 minutes from now. All of the activities today have gone off in perfect fashion. No issues with the vehicle, no issues with the crew. And the weather at the splashdown site is go.
We have a go. Sammy, you would agree with that, as the weather is just perfect right now, it's seemingly in San Diego.
I mean, I was just kind of listening there, smiling too, just thinking how miraculous this all is too. It's incredible.
Yeah, you can see the horizon right there in the John P. Murtha. And it's really, they can carry Marines as well. That is an amphibious docking ship, so they will be able to recover the actual capsule so it doesn't sink to the bottom of the ocean.
1 minute until entry interface.
Okay, entry interface. And again, folks, on this stream, that is a live look from the Orion capsule right there. Planet Earth, as it's making the calculated splashdown that only the NASA scientists know exactly how to pull off. This has just been such a miraculous mission. I know it's been more than 50 years since we've circled the moon. The whole
1 minute until entry interface.
Gotcha.
1 minute, 20 seconds until the expected start of our 6-minute blackout.
And Mike, they did make history too.
Integrity, 1 minute to a 6-minute blackout.
Going farther than they ever have before.
Yeah. And you heard them. Now they're just under 1 minute until that blackout of communication when they make the re-entry back into Earth's atmosphere. They have been preparing for this for quite some time right now. They are testing that heat shield real time around the capsule. We hope that everything, as it has so far this mission, just goes well. Those 4 astronauts that have been so close this whole trip. We have seen the pictures that have come back that we waited so patiently for.
10 seconds till entry interface.
As they lose communications for 6 minutes, this is the mission that will eventually put humans back on the moon, with the United States leading the way.
And we have crossed the threshold, now entering the Earth's atmosphere. We're at 400,000 feet, traveling 34,800 feet per second.
Yeah, that's zooming right there for you folks.
Time to splash down, 13 minutes, 10 seconds.
13:10, and you can see the countdown clock on the bottom right-hand part of your screen.
It's amazing how we may have lost communication. Okay, so there goes the camera. I was going to say,
and as predicted,
they
we've
kept the
entered
camera.
our communications blackout.
There it goes. Okay.
This will be a 6-minute blackout period. No voice, no data from the crew.
Wow.
All right, yeah, and there's the blackout. Listen, we are going to bring in,
we're 30 seconds
very
away
short
from the
order,
anticipated point of peak heating on the vehicle, where temperatures will rise to about 4,000 to 5,000 degrees Fahrenheit. This is the true test of our trajectory.
And it's amazing that the technology can keep it, you know, from burning up.
And from the G5
we're going to bring in Maura again from our Denver station, Maura Barrett. I want to talk with her. And Maura, we're a whole team here from San Diego to Denver to West Palm Beach today. Actually, Ben Higgins just sent me this text. It's very interesting. They've been told there at the Air and Space Museum in San Diego, they're expecting a sonic boom sometime between 8 o'clock Eastern, I'm putting this in Eastern time for our viewers, 5 p.m. Pacific, and splashdown. So while they won't hear anything, Maura, they won't see anything, they will hear something.
Yeah, I mean, when you think about how fast they're traveling and how fast they're also going to be essentially putting on the brakes as they come through the atmosphere. I was just talking about this with my photographer, actually. If they're coming through the atmosphere just over Hawaii, but then are splashing down just outside San Diego, what, 10 minutes later? That's typically a 5-hour flight, right? And so that really just puts into perspective how fast they're going and why that sonic boom is happening. So it's just really, really wild, especially as you make the point that we're watching this from all over the country. I'm sure people all over the world are watching this happen after we all got to experience the journey with them in real time over the last 10 days. Yeah, and as we speak, just kind of some live updates as our Scripps team is awesome. Again, you're taking a live look on your stream right now. That is a John P. Murtha U.S. Navy ship where the crew has headed out to the bow of the ship, catching a glimpse, hopefully hearing something very soon. Our Ben Higgins in San Diego texts me and tells me that they have already started altering flight paths from the San Diego airport downtown. They usually sends planes out to the Pacific. They're keeping everybody away from that splashdown zone. They want everything to go well. Again, you're taking a look at the world's greatest Navy sailors right there. John P. Murtha out to sea. And Maura, just what a moment. Absolutely. I think in the final 10 minutes, it's just really jarring and full of wonder to reflect over the last 10 days, right? This journey was filled with so many firsts. The first manned mission to the moon in over 50 years, the furthest any human has ever ventured from Earth, the first time humans have seen the full far side of the moon, the first black astronaut to travel further than low Earth orbit, and the first woman to travel. I want to pause for a second.
Yeah, I want people to know that's a visualization of what it would look like, I believe, on the left-hand top side. Yeah, this isn't an actual live view because we have a communication blackout. But Maura, let's listen into this. All right, as there is a pause, I do want to say that's a visualization, not the actual.
Multiple airborne assets as part of the recovery team all have visuals on integrity.
Okay, and you see about 9 minutes, roughly a little more than 9 minutes until splashdown, and you're going to see it live here on this stream with Scripps News from West Palm Beach to Denver to San Diego. Right now, I've been reading Ben's notes, and thank you so much for keeping us in touch, Ben Higgins in San Diego. What is the mood like there in the city that will be closest to where the splashdown happens, Ben?
You know, Mike, here at the Air and Space Museum in San Diego, it was very festive about 30-40 minutes ago, kind of like a party. Things have gotten a little quieter. Everyone's kind of gathering around the big screens in the flight pavilion, or even smaller screens here in the museum area where we are, just kind of, I think, holding their breath. You know, this is the tense part of what's going on right now, so everyone just wants to make sure that this goes smoothly. So it's definitely gotten a little quieter, and I don't know if we're going to be able to hear it inside the building, but as you mentioned, we were warned throughout Southern California that sometime between 5 o'clock Pacific, 8 o'clock Eastern, and around splashdown time that we could get a loud or maybe even a series of sonic booms that can be heard up and down the coast. So I know people are, even though they can't see it from San Diego, it's too far off the coast, they are waiting to hear potentially the re-entry and the sonic boom. So, you know, here though, everyone's kind of hushed a little bit and just kind of waiting those last tense moments before they know that these astronauts have made it safely down into the Pacific Ocean, just about, you know, 50, 60 miles from where we're standing right now in San Diego's Balboa Park, Mike.
Yeah, about 38 miles roughly right now from that splashdown, if you put it into terms. Ben is there at the Air and Space Museum in San Diego. You know, as we're talking to you and we're waiting for that communication to get back online with Houston, master control there. Speed's going down about 13,000 miles per hour. So they are slowing down considerably. The noise you hear in the background there of this live stream, that's Ben Higgins there at the San Diego Air and Space Museum. Kind of been a big point for a watch party. And I believe there we have comms with crew will be reestablished here very, very shortly, as we are kind of getting a view right there, not only of the John P. Murtha on the right-hand side out to sea in the Pacific Ocean. They're sending divers out when this capsule hits the water, but you're seeing mission control right there in Houston. 11,000 miles per hour. Sammy Squires, as we watch this here in our WPTV studios in West Palm Beach, and hopefully you're seeing this around the country right now. There is an image of the Orion capsule as it's only expected to get clearer and clearer from the view of NASA. It's almost as if, Sammy, when this was the launch, right before it, we're hoping, my goodness, I just hope they get up safely.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, your emotions are kind of all over the place right now. You're excited, but also a little bit nervous, too.
Right.
Your trajectory is nominal, and your recovery teams have visual.
And they are having comms right back to those 4 astronauts. Let's listen in and hear back and forth, if we can, what NASA's saying.
Internal camera controller failed.
Big cheers from the viewing room here in Mission Control as voice communication reestablished with Commander Reed Wiseman. For America and a waiting world, integrity is 5.5 minutes away from coming home.
5.5 yes, 5.5 minutes. It's like watching, this is watching history. This is the first time in more than 50 years that humans have been around the moon. A
Range
lunar
to
mission.
splash down 19 nautical miles.
And from those Apollo missions now to the Artemis era, we are in. We are about 5 minutes away from splashdown of this capsule. And let's listen in. Gotcha.
Integrity impact to the camera controller fail is no cab 1 views of the chutes.
Integrity.
Folks on the stream, you're going to listen
Processing good data through the GPS
to
system.
NASA.
A good view of integrity. Time to splash down 4.5 minutes.
4.5 minutes. And there, that's, Sammy, as we see this, that is about the most clear
And a view of
picture
integrity from the WB-57.
that we can see.
We're
And
at
we're going to have NASA
50,000
take
feet.
this away.
The pyros are armed for forward bay cover jettison.
Look at that. There's
There you go, the first series of parachutes.
Parachutes deployed.
And we're on drogues.
Wow.
And Houston, we're visual 2 drogues out the window.
2 good drogue chutes. Next up,
We copy, we see them.
the deployment of pilot parachutes that will pull the main chutes out. Time to splash down 3 minutes and 10 seconds.
So those parachutes are going to slow down this capsule
considerably.
Yes.
Yes. All the way down to about 20 miles per hour from 300 miles
Perfect
per
descent
hour.
rate according to flight dynamics.
Good rates on 2 drogues.
We see the same on board.
Passing through 10,000 feet, still on drogues.
Looks like on the right, they're trying to get a picture of it too from the ship.
Second set of parachutes deployed.
Main chute deploy.
The main chute. See how close it
We're
is
at
to the
5,000 feet. Search and recovery beacon has been activated on integrity. And we have 3 good main chutes.
Yay.
You're listening in live to NASA.
Good 3 main chutes, good reefing, good descent rate.
Good rates, and we see 3 good-looking parachutes.
We are almost a minute and a half away from that splashing down, these 4 astronauts officially returning to Earth after this 10-day mission.
Integrity. Cabin pressure indicates no need for hydrazine checks.
Integrity copies.
This is a perfect descent for integrity. Its crew sounding hale and hearty on board. Time to splash down 1 minute, 15 seconds.
So you're also hearing the back and forth control room to the actual astronauts too.
Yes, wow. And there's the sailors on the John P.
Integrity
Murtha.
about to complete a journey spanning 694,481 miles from its launch from the Kennedy Space Center back on April 1st, and a trip around the moon.
Any moment now, that capsule is going
Passing through 1,000 feet.
Super close, Sammy, super close.
Almost there.
Almost there, folks. You're watching the live stream here on Scripps News. From San Diego to Denver to West Palm Beach, the moment in history we have all been waiting for right now. There's the clearest view we've seen so far, a beautiful sight as all the astronauts appear to be speaking with Mission Control in Houston, and splashdown is imminent.
Houston Integrity, splashdown, sending post-landing command now.
Wow.
Splashdown confirmed.
Yes.
Copy splashdown, waiting on VLDR.
Splashdown confirmed at 7:07 p.m. Central Time, 5:07 p.m. Pacific Time.
Perfect
From the pages
timing,
of
too.
Jules Verne to a modern-day mission to the moon, a new chapter of the exploration of our celestial neighbor is complete. Integrity's astronauts back on Earth.
Almost to the very exact time they said it would be. 8:07 Eastern.
And the landing and support officer reports the vehicle is stable 1. We still will be deploying the crew module uprighting system to maintain that orientation. A perfect bullseye splashdown for Integrity and its 4 astronauts.
And now comes the part that they have trained so much for. Those Navy divers are going to go out there, the team of 4 of them that are highly trained individuals. Over and over again, they have trained for this. They will be the first to make contact with the astronauts in the Orion capsule and make sure they get out safely and back to land, with a lot of steps in between, Sammy.
I mean, it's hard to put words into perspective here.
Our whole
just
newsroom.
Such an amazing
thing. The unofficial splashdown time, 7:07 and 47 seconds p.m. Central Time. We'll get that refined for you. That would put the end of the mission at a mission elapsed time of 9 days, 1 hour, 31 minutes, 35 seconds.
I mean, our whole newsroom erupted in applause, and I hope if you're watching this at home with your family
and we're configuring for a very low data rate
on a Friday night, what a way to round out the week, right, Sammy Squires?
Once again, splashdown occurring in the Pacific, southwest of San Diego at 7:07 and 47 seconds p.m.
Integrity Houston, comm check on VLDR.
Now we're just waiting on the retrieval.
Correct. And an interesting...
Houston, we have you loud and clear on VLDR. How us?
We have you the same. We'll meet you over in post-landing.
That sounded like good communication.
Perfect communications established.
Perfect.
Perfect.
We are stable 1, 4 green crew members.
Houston copies all.
Reed Wiseman reporting 4 green crew members. That is not their complexion. That is the fact that they're in great condition. That's what that means.
Yes.
So stable 1, upright. The crew module uprighting system is being deployed. The 5 airbags being inflated through helium to maintain the upright configuration for the vehicle. This was a textbook entry and a textbook touchdown for Integrity. Reed Wiseman, Victor Glover, Christina Cook, and Jeremy Hansen back on Earth after a journey around the moon.
And then after the successful retrieval, they'll undergo the medical evaluations too.
Right. Yep, and take it back to Coronado, California, the base there. Obviously Coronado, kind of famous for BUDS training for Navy SEALs, but it's a big Navy base there that they will all be taken back to. This is out to sea, you know, some miles away from the Pacific Ocean, from the San Diego shoreline. And what you're seeing is 2 small boats, rib boats for lack of better description, but this is the amphibious docking ship, so they do kind of have big watercraft to use to get out there and get those divers in position. But if you heard it at home, what Houston Control said to the astronauts, they said 4 green.
Continue,
that means
to
they're
monitor
all
the
good
functioning
condition.
of the CMOOS system. The airbags are being inflated to maintain a stable 1 or upright configuration. And there's a good view from one of the naval helicopters hovering overhead. Reed Wiseman reporting 4 green crew members, meaning they're all in excellent shape.
I'm a Navy veteran, and I just can't imagine the excitement of those crew members on the John P. Murtha just looking out and just kind of cheering for their guys right now to make this mission a go, because this is an important part of it.
Integrity Houston for SAR beacon and radio.
SAR beacon is in for 06, and we're powering the radio now. Go ahead.
We see the beacon on. However, the recovery team is not seeing the signal. Your SAR radio uses the same antenna, so you may run into trouble with the radio.
Okay, copy. And we are also powering up the sat phone now.
Satellite's
so
pretty
Integrity
reliable.
is in great shape. And as the crew continues its post-splashdown timelined activities on board, Reed Wiseman once again reporting that all 4 crew members are in excellent shape. And we have 5 inflated airbags to maintain an upright configuration so that the recovery team can now begin a slow approach to the vehicle. Meanwhile, here in the flight control room, Entry Flight Director Rick Henfling is polling his team of flight controllers for the start of powering down the vehicle after a thorough systems check. We have no toxic gases to be concerned about, so the recovery personnel can approach the vehicle but not until we have powered down the spacecraft. That's expected to take a few more minutes.
I just want to come in right now and say that as far as the team that will actually open the capsule and get into there and talk to the astronauts face to face, they are experts in diving medical assistance. They are all either officers or kind of senior enlisted in the Navy divers, highly, highly trained and in dive medicine.
Integrity back on Earth following its historic flyby of the moon. It was, for all intents and purposes, a textbook mission.
On 28 per hour remain on this frequency.
We copy.
Reed Wiseman indicating some trouble with the SARSAT phone on board, but that's not an issue. What is more important is that the vehicle is solid. No issues as we begin the power down of the vehicle to begin the recovery process.
Okay, so Ben Higgins has been at the Air and Space Museum in San Diego, where it's the closest city, just off the coast of San Diego. Ben, I just want to know what the reaction was there as we had the successful splashdown. We're hearing that the astronauts are okay and hoping that, did you hear the sonic boom? What was the moment like there?
Well, no doubt. We feel like we're in the center of the universe right now, Mike. A huge crowd, hundreds of people in the flight pavilion just behind me at the Air and Space Museum. Smaller group, about several dozen people gathered in front of a smaller screen here inside the museum, all kind of holding up their phones to record the screen as the moments happened. And then as each parachute deployed, you heard a big old cheer from throughout this museum of the crowd getting really excited. And then when splashdown happened, huge eruption. Felt like I was at a Padres game at Petco Park when they just did a walk-off grand slam like they did last night. Huge cheers here in San Diego, and very excited that the astronauts are safely back home. And it was special getting to watch it together collectively, so close to where it's just happening off our coast here. Seems like people really enjoyed this experience.
You're telling me. I mean, you were right in the center of it there, closest. I can only tell you the only thing that could match it is a liftoff here from Florida, but from the Space Coast. You are there at the Air and Space Museum. You mentioned that all of the aircraft diverted it from leaving the local airport there, and also a sonic boom that could be heard perhaps outside, maybe not so much there in the museum. Where do we go from here? Is there any more partying tonight there at the museum?
Well, as a Navy veteran yourself, Mike, big Navy town here in San Diego, so we're watching the recovery operations really closely. You mentioned the ship, the John P. Murtha, which is a naval amphibious transport dock ship, actually has the well deck, which you can flood and bring in craft through the sea, which is ideal, obviously, for the recovery of the capsule. So we'll be watching for the astronauts. Will get checked out. They'll put them on a helicopter, bring them back to the naval base in Coronado. If people don't know, that's if you ever seen the San Diego skyline, it's connected by the beautiful Coronado Bay Bridge that leads from downtown. Really spectacular. The Hotel del Coronado historic hotel is there. And then once they're checked out completely, they'll fly back to Houston and the Johnson Space Center to get reunited with their space team back there. But we're watching it all really closely, Mike, and really enjoying what's going on.
Yeah, and it's not every day we get to be joined by our friends, our Scripps friends there in San Diego like yourself, Ben. I'll just keep you on for one or two more questions as we take a live look at that Orion capsule floating in the water, waiting for the dive team to get there to check out that everything is okay. The right-hand side that we're seeing, at least Ben on the stream, is the John P. Murtha sailors watching their teammates approach that capsule. Give us an idea. You're born and raised in San Diego. What was the lead-up like this whole week, expecting this splashdown? And then here we are. You're at Friday early evening. What has just the whole build-up been like in the city for you?
you know, obviously everyone was excited about the launch. We watched it, I'm sure, not maybe as excited as you guys were over in Florida, but I think as people realized throughout the week what was going on and that the mission was going to end with a splashdown so close, you could feel people getting more and more interested. Obviously, we just had more and more coverage every day on all of our local newscasts here on ABC 10 News in San Diego. So huge story, and it felt like everyone was just kind of hanging on every little part of this mission and seeing what was going to happen with these astronauts and whether or not they were going to make it back home safely. And now they have, Mike.
Yeah, Ben, we have just been greatly honored to be joined by you guys and really get the up close and personal there from the Scripps station there in San Diego. We are taking a live look right now, Ben, and everybody on our stream. The boat is approaching the capsule, very close to it right now. Wonder if we can bring up the audio on NASA. Perhaps they're talking to the astronauts inside from the boat.
That will get sorted out here shortly. There's plenty of cooling on board Integrity, so there's no rush to begin the power down.
To call you on the sat phone and I'm not getting an answer there either.
Concur. We haven't had anything come through.
And Houston, if you could relay to recovery that we hear them, but it does not appear as though they are hearing us.
So the capsule there where the 4 astronauts are inside, they're just sorting out some communication, perhaps one, they said SAR radio,
Houston,
search and rescue radio.
And just to confirm, you are pushing the PTT on the radio.
Yeah, that's some comms back and forth, just deciding which form of communication will be the best to, because right now those small boats that are near the capsule, they are communicating back with their ship and eventually aircraft to get these astronauts back. So just important to all kind of be synced up together, handshaking, and that's what they're trying to kind of map out right now. But when those divers do get in the water, like I said, they are highly trained Navy divers, the best of the best for this operation. They've trained months and months for it, led by a lieutenant commander that is Jesse Wang. He is going to be one of the first to get in there and actually touch base with the astronauts, see them face to face. We can hear their voices, but just to see, you know, if there's anything they need medically, and then carefully bring them back and acclimate them back to Earth. They're experts in that.
We are going to attempt to call you.
Good idea, standing by.
And Jackie, yes, we are pushing the push to talk, the 2 buttons on the left side of the radio below the up-down arrows. We are utilizing them. I'm rebooting the radio to see if we get good comms.
Now, I want you at home to imagine this.
Okay, we copy all, and just to confirm, you are seeing that you are touchdown plus 3030 for power, correct?
They've just traveled 20,000 miles per hour through the Earth's atmosphere and trying to hook up a phone right now to be able to go home. I mean, it's kind of like when you get home from a long trip and you're like, I don't feel like unpacking right now or doing anything. I just want to go to my bed. Well, there's several steps that these astronauts have to do right now. You see the Seahawk helicopters overhead as well with those boats as they are trying to just get the proper comms. Everything appears to be okay with the astronauts, just taking a minute so they can get inside properly. Everything that they've trained for something like this along the way to go, you know, like maybe not exactly according to plan, but this doesn't appear to be, they have line of sight right now with the capsule right there. So it's not like we're in a dangerous situation where they lost comms and they're still floating in space somehow, Sammy.
Yeah, Mike, it sounds like they had communication to the astronauts. You know, the astronauts were talking, so they could still hear them, but it sounds like there's a little bit of an issue there communicating back and forth.
Right. What's key, though, is the calm seas right now. I mean, that's like two feet, if that, you know, less than 2 feet high. And that was key to this mission. It couldn't be just choppy seas, going in, because that just makes the mission that much harder, that much more dangerous for the astronauts. And the last thing you want is something to happen to them right after they land in the ocean safely. So
plus there was a huge radius of where they could actually splash down too. So there had to be a large area of calm seas.
Yeah. NRD very weak.
Okay, and again,
but readable. Master diver, we can hear, but they cannot hear us.
Let's listen into these moments here with NASA and U.S. Navy, and the astronauts. Again, 4 astronauts inside the capsule, returned right on time, 8:07 our time Eastern. As a matter of fact, they put it at the time of 8:07, 49 seconds. As we wait for more, we don't want to talk over NASA. We want to give you on the stream like the up close and personal of what we're hearing. So if you do hear me stop talking with Sammy, and all of a sudden we want to hear what NASA is saying to the capsule right now.
And Houston on OE1, is there any chance to tie us into NRD?
Okay.
NRD, is that a naval term, or is that more of a...
Checking.
Naval recovery, I want to, what the acronym means. As we take a look here, listen, and you're looking at the live look right now, folks. Pacific Ocean, the Integrity capsule that was with the Artemis II mission.
This is Mission Control, Houston. While we stand by for the establishment of communications between Integrity and the recovery team that is basically standing by very close to the spacecraft, we're going to go to the deck of the USS John P. Murtha, where Megan Cruz is standing by with Administrator Jared Isaacman.
Hey, Rob, yeah, just such an honor to be able to be here on the ship, to be able to share and experience this moment with everyone together. And of course, as you just said, yes, here with NASA Administrator Jared Isaacman. Administrator, how did you feel getting to witness this and seeing NASA at its best?
Oh, I mean, I'm honestly, I'm still at a loss for words. I mean, like the childhood Jared right now can't believe what I just saw. I mean, almost been waiting my whole lifetime to see this, and then it's NASA Administrator. I just couldn't be more proud of the entire workforce, the years, the effort, the late nights, all the hard work from across the country that contributed to this incredible moment right now. And yeah, incredibly grateful too for our teams here on the John P. Murtha right now.
Yeah, look at the behind us here.
Got everybody. Hey, what do you guys think? We just brought some astronauts back from the moon, huh? Unbelievable. Thank you. Yeah, so grateful to the Navy, the sailors that are here, the NASA teams. I mean, this is a joint effort that's on their way right now. These recovery forces are getting out to our Orion spacecraft, to Integrity, to get our astronauts back on the ship safely.
Yeah, and this is not just an accomplishment for NASA. This is an accomplishment for humanity. Again, a historic mission to the moon and back. How does this make you feel, and what do you hope people take away from this?
Well, I'll tell you, I think about the crew members that we've all had an opportunity to observe over the last 10 days, right? I mean, they're absolutely professional astronauts. I mean, wonderful communicators, almost poets. But then I think these were the ambassadors from humanity to the stars that we sent out there right now. And I can't imagine a better crew than the Artemis II crew that just completed a perfect mission right now. So, yes, it's a huge moment for everybody, right? I mean, we are back in the business of sending astronauts to the moon, bringing them back safely, and to set up for a series more. I mean, this is not a once-in-a-lifetime, which you hear sometimes around here. It's like, this was a once-in-a-lifetime. No, it's not. This is just the beginning. We are going to get back into doing this with frequency, sending missions to the moon until we land on it in 2028 and start building our base.
Yeah, are we going to build on the momentum for Artemis III? I mean, it's just around the corner.
Absolutely. So, I mean, that's, part of me, too. Like, I can't wait to get the crew off of Integrity right now, but also getting bring integrity back on this ship so we can start taking a look at it, because all that data is so precious to us right now. I mean, we are going to definitely want to take a good look at the thermal protection system. We're going to want to download all the data they couldn't transmit back to us and use that to inform Artemis III. But we're already making progress, right? You had SRB segments already showing up at KSC. Core stage for Artemis III is rolling out on April 20th. We're getting Mobile Launcher 1 back in vehicle assembly building. So yes, there is a lot to celebrate right now on a mission well accomplished for Artemis II, and at the same time, we got to start getting ready for 3.
Amazing. And last question, you know, for people who joined us for all 10 days to see what we can accomplish together with our international partners, what do you think about the fact that we're going to keep doing this more and more and more?
It's incredibly exciting. I mean, yes, it's the contributions, like the best and brightest across the NASA workforce from across the country, our industry partners, our international partners. We had a Canadian Space Agency astronaut on board in Jeremy. We had the European Service Module. And you think in the days leading up to this launch, I mean, 48 hours prior to launching Artemis II, I was meeting with the Italian Space Agency. We signed a memorandum of understanding to build a habitation module on the moon. I mean, you have countries, all of our allies and partners coming together saying, we are committed to this effort. We are returning to the moon. We're doing it to stay. We are building that enduring presence. We are going to master the skills on the surface of the moon so someday we can undertake missions to Mars. It's just an incredibly exciting time, and we're not going at it alone. We're bringing everybody along with us.
Absolutely. And speaking of everyone, one more time, we're going to ask the crew here, you guys ready to land on the moon? Awesome. I love that. Okay, well, thank you so much, Administrator. Appreciate you being here. We're, of course, going to stay on to watch the crew get extracted from Orion, so stay tuned, and we'll see you back here shortly.
Love hearing from that aspect of things. And sorry, I'm a Navy vet. I'm fired up when I hear fellow sailors, you know, how jacked up and happy they are about this whole thing.
Can you imagine doing something like that, Mike?
I mean, you do so many days out to sea, and then to be part of something so important. We do have our Scripps team with us, like we said, coast to coast, and we talked with Ben Higgins earlier, who was in San Diego. Karina Vargas is a reporter at our Scripps station in San Diego. And Karina, you have been in the middle of the crowd there at the Fleet Science Center, another watch party. There you are. You've got families behind you. I know it's noisy in there because, wow, what a moment it was not long ago. Kind of set the scene how things are going there for you, again, at the Fleet Science Center in San Diego.
Yeah, it was definitely exciting out here, and there was a lot of anticipation of building for that splashdown. Right now, you know, things are kind of clearing up. Families are already kind of leaving. You know, there were a few people that were staying behind, just kind of watching as the 4 astronauts splashed down here and waiting for their retrieval. There were some technical difficulties over here on our end. There were some delayed reactions because of the feed, but nonetheless, people really were clapping and cheering when they landed. But again, there are a few people still here kind of trickling and staying here, just kind of having their eyes on the screen, waiting for that moment for the astronauts to be extracted. But like I mentioned, the anticipation was really building here, where people were just very excited to witness history. You were able to hear cheers from the crowd and seeing just the aftermath of everyone still being very excited for what they had just witnessed. And people that we had talked to even before the splashdown had happened, there was just a lot. They said that there was a lot to celebrate, and they said that this really is history in the making. Now here at the Fleet Center, not only was it also a place to watch the historic splashdown, but they also have an exhibit here where people can see a lot of the technology from Artemis II. But again, things are clearing out now, but it's still a lot of excitement that history was made here today. But I'll send it back to you.
I was going to say, what did you see? Mostly families there. I see some of them. And by the way, if anyone wants to talk live here on the Scripps News, cast that we have right now for everyone, we're more than welcome to bring in some friends. But you saw mostly families there, everybody kind of enjoying several generations, right?
Yeah, and there were a lot of kids here too, a lot of families and kids just having their eyes glued on that screen. And even beforehand, we talked to a lot of kids. I spoke to a young girl who said she was very excited to see the splashdown. She was just telling me just how excited it is and how, you know, science, it sparks her interest in science for sure, and just being able to tell other people of what she witnessed here today.
All right, that's Karina Vargas there from our San Diego Scripps station. Karina, hey, listen, if any of those folks want to talk to us live on our stream right now as we're taking a look at the capsule of the Artemis II mission, we'd love to hear from them live. Back to our live look there in the Pacific Ocean. I'm going to listen to what NASA's saying.
Helicopter before they turn around to head back to the John P. Murtha. Once on the deck of the ship, they'll be brought into medical bay for comprehensive medical exams. But Reed Wiseman has reported several times that the crew is in excellent shape. That is the main, I'll call it announcer right now for NASA that's talking over this stream. Sam, as we watched this, Sammy Squires here, our meteorologist, as we watched this happen not too long ago, the main thing is the first time we heard from the astronauts. So just to recap, it has been some 26.5 minutes since the splashdown of Integrity in the Pacific. The vehicle is in excellent shape. It performed like a champ all the way down through the Earth's atmosphere. All of the vehicle functions were checked off in excellent trip hammer fashion. The parachutes all deployed as planned. Splashdown occurring at 7:07 p.m. Central Time, 5:07 p.m. Pacific Time.
Now, Mike, it's been really important, too, that everything goes all to plan here, and it sounds like things did, which is very fortunate for Artemis II. That was the main purpose of this mission, making sure the spacecraft there performs.
I'll put it in this perspective. At least they're back on Earth. They're not stuck in space. Yes. Something terribly wrong didn't go bad. Right now, you have the best Navy divers in the world. You have helicopters. You have a amphibious docking ship nearby. So we can rest well at home right now. I know this is, and listen, this is just the nature of the game of being an astronaut, coming back to Earth, you know, getting everything in order. But we can at least say they're here. They have good comms with them. They're safe. And I think Ben Higgins, our anchor from San Diego there at the Air and Space Museum, would agree with us, Ben. You know, they're just a little delay getting inside that capsule, but I think I could speak for a lot of us. At least they're here on Earth where they can be tended to and not stuck in space.
Yeah, you can see the excitement of the sailors on the John P. Murtha that we just saw. I think they know that everything's okay, even if it's a little bit delayed. I have a little bit more on that ship there for you, Mike. The ship is named after longtime Pennsylvania member of Congress, John P. Murtha, and I have a statement here from the commanding officer, Captain Eric Kenny of the Murtha. He said, quote, "It's a fitting tribute to Congressman Murtha, who dedicated his life to serving our nation, that the ship bearing his name is integral to this historic moment in space exploration. He was a champion for our military and a visionary. We are honored to carry on his legacy by supporting NASA and the Artemis II mission." You can tell there's a lot of inspiration here, as Karina was mentioning, a lot of kids at the Fleet Science Center, which isn't far from here. Tons of kids here at the Air and Space Museum. But aren't we all kids right now, Mike? I mean, the last time astronauts went to the moon, I wasn't even born yet. That was, you know, in the early 70s, 1972, in the Apollo missions. We haven't been back in so long. I think we all feel like kids again, getting to experience this, something I did not even get to experience during childhood, you know, astronauts going to the moon again.
You know, Ben, and I had the pleasure of talking with Ben, everybody watching our stream right now. Talked to them earlier today. He has boys. I have young boys. We kind of just exchanged stories. And one thing that I wanted my son to know and to see is this era of space travel right now. We're going to get live reaction right now. And producers, oh, here we go, right here. This is Karina Vargas with somebody there at the Fleet Science Center. Let's listen in.
Yeah, this is history in the making, and they're super excited to be around some friends and kind of run some people all excited to do the same thing and just kind of make sure everybody gets home safe and get excited to see some more awesome pictures and stuff like that, yeah.
I was going to say, how do you feel about just like space exploration? I know this is like the first time in like 50 years that we've gone this far into, you know, space. How is it seeing that?
It's exciting, obviously. I mean, we're going in some new directions with everything, with trying to get some more footage of the moon, and I don't know, everything what's going on with the moon. So, yeah, we're all excited to see what's going to happen in the future. We've got some future astronauts or something, but I don't know.
I was going to say,
excited.
lastly, how do you feel about just kind of being able to have your daughters witness such a historic moment and just the possibility of, you know, the next generation growing into this?
Yeah, absolutely. They are super excited to see the future and looking bright in that direction, right? There's a lot of things going on right now, but I think we can all agree that going back to the moon and getting people excited about space is something to be excited for and about, yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Hey, listen, that's what it's all about right there. That family seeing it, that daughter. Might not remember everything about this moment, but like, we'll have a memory of this. And I wanted my son to see the launch. When you guys were up, Sammy, you and John Shaman were at the launch. We saw it in our backyard in Jupiter. And, you know, this just new era of lunar missions, this is setting the stage for it right here to eventually land humans on the moon again.
I mean, Mike, you know, we grew up never experiencing something like this. You know, we've sent humans to space, but this is farther than humans have ever gone before. I think the ISS, if I recall, is roughly 2,500 miles away, if you can double check me on that. And they went 250,000.
Yeah, that was made in '98, and the International Space Station. But yeah, I mean,
the recovery team.
What an era! What an era we're going to now.
And it's interesting too because, you know, it'll be interesting to see what kids. You know, if we're seeing more of those kids, you know, trying to become astronauts now versus maybe there's been a law, I don't know.
Yeah, the inspiration is there. And we do have Ben Higgins again from San Diego, where, listen, San Diego, huge Navy town, biggest on the West Coast there, and a lot going on with the U.S. Navy right now. Ben, we kind of have you in a two-box where we see that capsule, and then we see you in front of it. By the way, what is that capsule behind you there at the Air and Space Museum, not to put you on the spot?
No, I want to talk about it a little bit because, you know, I heard just Sammy mentioning the inspiration of younger generations. We're seeing that in real time after the viewing party. A lot of the people who watched the splashdown have come into the museum here at the San Diego Air and Space Museum to see exhibits like this. This is the Apollo 9. I'll step out of the way. The actual Apollo 9 capsule that was one of the lead-up missions before Apollo 11 and the first landing on the moon, the first men to walk on the moon. So this is the actual capsule that re-entered the atmosphere just like the Integrity did a few minutes ago. Absorbed the heat shield and came down and recovered and transported the astronauts of the Apollo 9 mission back safely, all in the lead up to the Apollo 11 moon landing back in the 1960s. So it's like living history here, and the Artemis missions are clearly inspiring a renewed interest in space exploration with new generations that did not get to experience this when they were growing up are now coming into places like the Air and Space Museum and getting to see what paved the way. And it's really amazing. We heard like this Apollo 9 capsule, the entire computing power was 200,000 times less than one iPhone that we keep in our pockets. They had to compute a lot of the trajectories by hand. If you've seen movies like Apollo 13, they had to do slide rules and compute all those trajectories just with mathematicians. Now, of course, we have supercomputers that can take care of all of that. But it's amazing that they were doing this over 50 years ago, and we're still trying to get it right today and perfect missions to space and the moon. Pretty incredible from here in San Diego, Mike.
Well, the view of the capsule there from the 60s, the past, into the present right now, the live look as you're watching here on our live stream with our Scripps News partners from around the country. That is in the middle. And Ben Higgins, thank you. Perhaps we'll check back in with you in just a bit there at the Air and Space Museum in San Diego. What we're waiting on right now, folks, maybe you're dipping in and out of this. You're like, okay, well, where are the astronauts right now? They're still waiting to get the best comms with them, communication. There was an initial kind of problem with search and rescue radio. They were trying to change frequencies, but as an indication that one of the boats is coming up closer and closer, that's a good indication. That's going to be the dive team that's reaching up there, and this is where their training kicks in. The team of 4 divers right there, they are circling, and they are highly trained individuals, high ranking within the United States Navy, some of them enlisted, some of them officers, but all one thing, and that is to ensure that these astronauts get out healthy and safely. Every hatch is done the proper way, opened up and closed up, and there you have it, because this happened at 7:07, I should say 8:07 and 49 seconds Eastern time is when that splashed down in the ocean, Sammy Squires.
Yeah, and Mike, I just want to kind of go back on a statement I said before. The ISS is actually 250 to 260 miles away from Earth.
Okay.
And the astronauts went 1,000 times further than that.
Wow.
Yes, so just incredible.
Got you. That is, wow. Our friend Max from our Scripps station in San Diego is ready to speak with us, and he is. I'm going to bring him in right here. Max, kind of set the scene of where you are. It sounds live. It sounds like there's a lot going on, and hopefully that's good news where you are.
Oh, nothing but the best news. Even though splashdown happened, 37 minutes ago, this place, thousands are still here. This is the Air and Space Museum in San Diego, so we are as close as you can get to where the splashdown just happened. This museum opened 63 years ago. I'm told this is the biggest event they've ever had. And as everyone watched the NASA live feed together, at the end of that 685,000-mile journey, everyone had their phones out, loud cheers, chanting USA, USA over again. We have people from all over the place, families, one of them right here next to me. I'm here with my friends Kenny and Adeline and their own kids. Just bring me back to the moment when splashdown happened and what you guys felt as you were surrounded by so many people sharing this moment together.
And it was just incredible. Just such amazing energy in here. The amount of pride I felt for what we're able to accomplish, it's just so exciting. Couldn't have picked a better place to be.
Yeah, right. It's so cool to be at the Air and Space Museum of all places, witnessing this moment in history for space exploration. What is it like to share this moment with your kids and your friends here?
Yeah. I hope they remember it, and I hope they get to share that with their kids too, that they actually got to see it and it was in their lifetime, and it all happened here in San Diego, that the crew landed here. That's such an incredible event. I hope they remember it.
I hope they remember it too, and if not, you got plenty of videos that I know you took, so they'll have all the memories in the world. Do you feel at all like you've been taken back to what it's like to be a kid, because this is the first time we're seeing this happen in your lifetime as well?
Right. No, I didn't really have this experience growing up, so we were not old enough for Apollo, and I think it's amazing to be part of the modern day equivalent of that.
Yeah. You described this in one word to me earlier. You want to say it again? Oh, he did. He said amazing. I promise you, he's getting camera shy right now. But, as I watch this here, I can't help but be amazed at what I'm witnessing, too. I mean, just looking at these astronauts, we've never seen anything quite like this. And so to me, it's like, these people right now in my mind are like superhuman. They're out of this world. Literally, they were out of this world, and it's so nice to have them back in our world and right in our backyard in San Diego. And how lucky are we to be witnessing this all together?
Oh, Max, very lucky. Yes, Max Goldwasser, I'll keep you on camera for a minute from KGTV there in San Diego. Max, you work in and around the San Diego area. And I asked Ben Higgins, a few minutes ago this, as we take a live look there at the capsule and the Navy vessels, the crew around it. What was the buildup like this whole week? You saw those families there enjoying a Friday night. How about how this happens on a Friday night, the buildup all week? What's that been like there in good old San Diego?
Well, I'm getting chills right now as you kind of bring me back to what this week has been like. We've been watching every single day. We've, as people who are reporters in this industry, we're trying to find every single different angle that we can take on this story as this moment in history is taking shape over the last 10 days. And here in San Diego, we have the highest concentration of personnel in the country and one of the highest in the entire world. So, the Navy personnel who are helping with this recovery mission right now, added element to why this matters to us so much. Splashdown is happening in San Diego, but our own people are a part of this mission too, and it's just, it's been, It's been amazing. Nothing short of it.
Yeah, Max, and we appreciate that kind of color to the scene and what it's been like all week. It's been a great 10 days. Again, that's our friend Max there at the Scripps Station in San Diego. We do want to go back to the NASA feed and kind of check back on the situation with communication with that capsule and the divers that are close to it. Let's listen in.
27 seconds p.m. Central Time. And as you can see, the first phalanx of recovery personnel now pulling up alongside of Integrity. This includes Navy divers, a Navy flight surgeon, and other recovery personnel who have trained for several years for this recovery process.
All right, folks, on our stream, they are about to open this capsule almost at any point now. They have reached it, and this is the team that will open it up, and perhaps we see our first glimpse, Sammy, of those astronauts that have been waiting so patiently to be home and get home, and just first and foremost get out of that capsule.
At this hour, some 41 minutes following splashdown, the vehicle has been powered down. There's no hazardous gas emanating from the vehicle. That's why the first team of recovery personnel has been able to pull alongside Integrity. And the reports continue to come in that the 4 astronauts are in excellent shape.
So it sounds like they got all that confirmed, which is good.
Yeah.
And therefore, they're allowed to make the approach.
Yeah. So making the approach now. 41 minutes later.
I think we knew going into this it would take roughly an hour to 2 hours to extract the astronauts, you know, get them on board, medically evaluated.
Right, right. And it's important to do it the right way.
Yes.
You know, you
make sure everything's all safe.
Correct. Everything has been meticulous up until this point. If you think about 10 days in space and the closeness the astronauts have done. And while we're waiting to see the first glimpse of them, if you think about just all the scientific experiments they did in space, it's just been wonderful to keep up with it here in South Florida, which we're so in tune with these liftoffs. We see them so many times now. SpaceX and NASA, you know, from the Space Coast, just about 2 hours north of us. We can sit in our own backyards and watch these launches. We feel a connectivity to it. And now we're seeing this, just the next stage, just the next era, that this was the test flight, okay? This was the test flight, an all-important one, to eventually land humans on the moon again, but most importantly, through NASA and America landing there first again.
Coast to coast.
Coast to coast, here we are.
Well, it's interesting too because the trajectory of, you know, the astronauts landing in the Pacific, it actually is also fed by gravity to get them there too.
Right.
So, you know, we have all this powerful technology.
This is Mission Control Houston, continuing to watch the initiation of the recovery of Integrity's astronauts. One by one, they'll be brought out of the spacecraft onto a large inflatable raft just a short time from now. In the meantime, we can go back to the USS John P. Murtha, where my colleague Megan Cruz is standing by to provide her situation report. Megan, can you hear us?
Now, I want to bring back in Ben Higgins. He is from KGTV there in San Diego, and I'll give him a minute to kind of get collected there. He's with the Air and Space Museum. Ben, it's okay, we're live, we're fluid here. This is a live stream here on the Scripps News Network. You have that right now. You're in San Diego. We've talked to our folks in Denver and here in West Palm Beach. Who do you have for us there? Looks like the director of the museum again.
Yeah, we got the president, Jim Kidrick of the Air and Space Museum back here. Just wanted to get our host's reaction. We talked to him before the splashdown. Jim, what was that moment like with everybody watching it here at the Air and Space Museum?
Well, I would say very candidly, space is back. And it's very exciting. The crowd, of course, just erupted because they got to see the completion of something they've been watching. And I think that that's what they told us. They've been paying attention to this, and they wanted to gather together, as families and friends, and just to share this experience because it is so momentous. And it was pretty cool.
Did you feel a little tension as we got a little closer and the capsule was coming down? Things got a little quieter.
Well, when you see the initial drogue chutes come out, you're going, okay, we just need 3 more to come out with them and stuff. But everything just seemed to happen the way it's supposed to. And it seemed to be certainly a well-oiled machine, and that's the way you want things to occur. But safety parameters are all there also, which helps.
And then for our community here in San Diego, it means a lot to have this happening right here, just right in our backyard, just off in our waters off the coast.
No, you're absolutely right. It brought it home, okay? It brought it to where we are. And, of course, it really also demonstrates the skill sets involved with the technology and rescue teams and boat teams, our Navy, helping kind of, dot the I's and cross the T's.
Exciting time here at the San Diego Air and Space Museum. Again, Jim Kindrick, thank you for having us out, having this whole watch party. I think big things are in store here at Balboa Park in San Diego.
Well, I do too, and we'll get rid of paid parking together. How's that?
That's a big local story,
Deal?
Mike. Yeah.
Deal?
The paid parking here, people are not big fans of it. We've been covering that for months, but we want to get as many people out here, volunteers to the museums that really treasure here in San Diego, California. Invite everyone to come out.
All right, that's Ben Higgins, and I don't mean to cut Ben off by any way, shape, or form, especially with the president of the Air and Space Museum, but they appear to be about to open that hatch.
Within 2 hours of splashdown.
And we're just going to listen into what NASA says about this right now as the crew is right there.
I was speaking to NASA flight surgeon Rick Schuring earlier in this broadcast, and he said to me, no rush to get the crew out. Just want to make sure that they're feeling good, and whenever they're ready to take their step out of Orion and onto that large raft, the front porch, folks will be ready. And as there are mission audio loops in Mission Control in Houston, there is a mission audio loop here on the ship, and it was just reported out that the side hatch is open. Side hatch of integrity is open. You're getting these beautiful shots from our aerial assets. The ship itself, where I'm on, just 3,000 yards away. Again, plenty of people on the boat here, glued to the side closest to where they can see all this action. And again, with just 3,000 yards separating us, great views from the bow here. You can see now that side hatch is open. One of the Navy personnel is about to get inside there.
Make first contact.
In they go. In total, 4 will go into Orion. So it'll be a little bit of a tight squeeze, but the goal is to have a recovery personnel with each astronaut assessing them.
Again, you're taking a live look and listening into the NASA live feed.
Boats getting closer now. Again, that one that's right up against Orion, those are the divers that will go in to the spacecraft to check on each of the astronauts. These other boats will begin doing a number of things, putting on that stabilization collar onto Orion, building that front porch. Eventually, they will retrieve the parachutes, as well as tow Orion back to the well deck of the recovery ship here. And so as we wait for the Navy and NASA personnel to get their assessment of the crew inside of Orion, why don't we toss it back to Rob for an update?
Yeah, thank you, Megan. Here in Mission Control, Flight Director Rick Henfling and the entry team of flight controllers still on duty. The vehicle has been powered down for some time now. There are no hazardous gases emanating from Integrity. That, of course, allowed the recovery personnel to approach the vehicle and then open the hatch to begin the initial medical assessment of the crew, as you just indicated. Now we're standing by for the erection of that inflatable raft, the front porch alongside of the vehicle, that will enable the crew to be extracted one by one onto the raft, have a moment or two to get their land legs back before they're hoisted into two hovering Navy helicopters, 2 crew members for each helicopter, for a short flight back to the deck of the USS John P. Murtha. All of Integrity's systems operated flawlessly throughout the course of the approach to the Earth, the entry into the Earth's atmosphere, and all of the key milestones that followed in this high-speed return to Earth for Integrity, a mission that spanned more than 694,000 miles from the vehicle's launch from the Kennedy Space Center atop the Space Launch System back on April 1st.
Well, like NASA said, as we're on this live stream right now with our Scripps stations all across the country and on our website, WPTV.com, we are waiting to see those astronauts pop out of that capsule right there. The Navy personnel has entered in to just make sure everybody's okay. We can hear that they're okay, but perhaps, you know, a lot happens when you come back into the Earth's atmosphere, and that's why these are highly trained professionals, highly trained in sea diving medicine, you know, trained for this specific purpose to basically just assess the situation and make sure all 4 of those astronauts that were so brave in their 10-day mission are okay.
As we mentioned at the top of the broadcast, the last time that the Apollo program saw a splashdown in the Pacific was Apollo 17 back on December 19th, 1972. So for the first time in some 53 and a half years, we have reenacted that with the arrival of Integrity's astronauts as they flew around the moon in that historic lunar flyby that began with a trans-lunar injection burn that took them out of Earth orbit following 24 hours of a high Earth orbit trajectory. The high Earth orbit trajectory enabled flight controllers here to have a full 24 hours to evaluate the systems on Integrity and the condition of the crew before they would commit to flying to the moon.
You know, Mike, this comes after the astronaut who recently had that medical scare while aboard the ISS there.
Right.
And it was an unexplained sudden medical scare that he had where he was unable to speak. So and they still don't know why, as far as I know, that it was not a stroke or anything like that. They are just attributing it to being in space.
Correct. Yeah, and That's why you kind of got to really make sure everything's on the up and up here when they're doing that. So they're kind of building right now what's called kind of a front porch, if you will, to help those astronauts get off. I'm sure they will appreciate some sort of porch, and the help from those Navy divers right there. Again, it was at our time Eastern here, wherever you're watching the stream on WPTV.com or all around our Scripps networks. 8:07 and 49 seconds Eastern time is when the splashdown in the Pacific Ocean just off the coast of San Diego. Again, they are from the John P. Murtha, a Navy ship. They have sent a few boats out there. They also have helicopters in the sky and a team of divers just kind of getting that hatch open, giving them a once-over medically to make sure everything's okay before they get them out on just kind of like a front porch area. We've been monitoring this, as has our Ben Higgins from KGTV there in San Diego, who has been at the Air and Space Museum the entire time. And not only that, but a longtime resident. You grew up in San Diego, Ben. What's the mood there at the museum? Is it are most people still waiting around to see the astronauts come out of the capsule? We will get Ben shortly, but as
there you go. I didn't get you there, Mike. I got you now.
Gotcha.
Thank you very much. So everything seemed to go really well on the re-entry from NASA's perspective, but there was one disappointment. I've been calling around. I've been checking with some sources. I've been looking at social media here in San Diego, and it doesn't sound like anyone got to hear the sonic boom that they were hoping for. We had a lot of people who were camped out by the beach, hoping that they would get that, but if there was one, it didn't seem to make it to land. That's the only disappointment here. But some people kind of angry that they didn't get the sonic boom they were really hoping to hear, because you couldn't see the splashdown from out in the water. It was too far away from the coast. So they were hoping they might get to hear it. NASA said there definitely could be one throughout Southern California in the moments around the splashdown, but apparently no one actually heard that. It didn't happen, so that was the one little disappointment here on the splashdown to the Artemis.
Listen, that's all right. I mean, we got to see it live here with our live stream, and Ben, you got to narrate parts of it as well. And just hearing NASA hit every check mark with that, and now we can see the hatch open. So we're kind of patiently waiting here and seeing what's going to happen next. You know, as they're kind of sitting and waiting there on the John P. Murtha, and we can see inside the capsule there, Sammy, and everybody watching at home, sitting here with the our meteorologist, Sammy Squires, and just kind of been a little more than, getting close to an hour now almost since it splashed down in the Pacific Ocean. So we are just patiently waiting, as the rest of you are as well.
We know that there are 8 people now within that capsule, the 4 astronauts as well as the 4 medical personnel.
Right. Okay. So 4 and 4. Yeah, I believe NASA is talking there to a Navy diver class. So as we, live look right now, Pacific Ocean off the coast of San Diego. Let's listen into what NASA's saying right here.
Before we inflate it, that gives us the go-ahead that it's secure in space, and then we'll inflate it, and then once that is done, we'll undo all the carabiners and get this orange line on top tied in the same fashion, and then this will be secured to the capsule, and the astronauts can safely take their first steps out of the capsule onto the front porch.
Okay, and how long will it take them to set up the stabilization collar?
We should definitely be able to handle this in under 10 minutes.
Okay, wow. And then you just mentioned the front porch. So basically, after they set up this stabilization collar, then they set up what's called the front porch here.
That's correct.
Okay, and what's the front porch?
Front porch is basically a bigger waiting room for the astronauts to sit in while we wait for the helicopters to show up and grab them.
Okay, so the medical team that was inside with the crew, they're going to help them out and onto the front porch?
That is correct.
And then what happens here?
We have hired trained medical personnel also on board the front porch that will give them lookovers and just make sure they're okay while we wait for the helicopters just to show up.
Okay. How does it feel? I mean, your team, you, to be part of a mission that's returning astronauts from the moon in more than 50 years?
We all feel truly honored to be a part of this, as well as a bigger mission for the Navy and joining up with NASA to do great things.
Mm-hmm. And do you feel like you and your team are ready?
Yes, very ready.
Cool. All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, so you just kind of heard them.
Once again, the recovery operations are continuing out in the Pacific. We shortly should see that life raft, the front porch, erected alongside the side hatch of the vehicle.
Okay, we heard some applause there. We were waiting to hear from Houston Mission Control exactly what that meant. If we could, you know, they're trying to zoom in carefully.
Flight controllers have come into the flight control room to receive congratulations from entry flight director Rick Henfling. But we're going to stick with our operations out in the Pacific as we await the extraction of the 4 crew members who are reported to be in excellent condition.
So it sounds like someone from the control center was getting applause, I think.
Yeah, one of the flight controllers of the whole mission. I mean, they're just as important. Mm-hmm. If they don't do everything right, then, you know, one thing could go wrong here. It's such a complex system and, you know, scientific thing, but if something goes wrong.
Erected alongside of the side hatch of the vehicle. Let's go back to the USS John P. Murtha and Megan Cruz. Megan?
Hey, Rob. Pausing now to listen to some internal audio loops. Again, the operations team here on the ship communicating with everyone out on the water. It seems like currents are hindering them a little bit from unfurling and inflating the stabilization collar as well as the front porch. But again, the requirement to get the crew out within 2 hours of splashdown, plenty of time. So no concerns just yet. But as calm as the water looks, yeah, it looks like it's hindering the teams just a tad.
Well, we know that all too well in South Florida, how that goes with rip currents here.
Of course, you know, can look, just like she said, it looks very calm, but they are connected to that right there, and yeah, a little currents, making things a little tricky. However, we do see right outside of the hatch there, one of the Navy divers that's in there, so we're seeing, you know, a couple of them in there tending to the astronauts and just kind of waiting after this 10-day mission. When you add it all up, the most dangerous part of that 695,000-mile journey, when Orion came screaming back to Earth today at, you know, 25,000 miles per hour, 45 times faster than a commercial airliner. Like, to get that right and to make sure everything's okay after that is kind of key.
Absolutely, and how hot the aircraft got too.
Right.
With those extreme conditions.
Right. So, Commander Reed Wiseman, pilot Victor Glover, mission specialist Christina Cook, and Canadian astronaut Jeremy Hansen, they are all in that capsule right now. What we have heard from NASA, maybe you're just popping in and out of this live coverage right now on our website and on our Scripps news stations, but all things appear to be okay. They had communication. Green means good. That's what they told Houston Mission Control, that they all appear to be okay. Positive communications. Now they have the Navy dive team out from the John P. Murtha, which is an amphibious docking ship that's off the coast of San Diego, not within a sight line. People weren't able to see this splashdown from, say, the beach in San Diego, but now you can clearly see it here with this live stream, that they are making a stabilization collar right now, as they call it. And 10-day mission around the moon, the farthest the humans have ever been before.
So it sounds like they're...
So that the crew can take 2 steps.
Okay, we're going to listen into NASA.
And they will be in the front porch. of chatter on the mission audio loops. That's a good thing. Again, things proceeding pretty nominally, even if they're fighting some currents out there on the Pacific Ocean. Again, the goal, setting up the stabilization collar and the front porch so that the crew can
system of parachutes got this capsule down to the Pacific Ocean. And, you know, it came into the water about 20 miles per hour, but when you think about how far and how fast, but that, okay, this is a good key sign that you're taking a look at right there. That just kind of keeps it afloat, what they're putting around right now, and that'll allow kind of the astronauts to get off with the Navy divers. You've just seen it step by step. This is something that they can train for this inside a facility in a pool, a large Olympic-sized pool per se, but until you get in those currents and those waves in the water real time, you never know how it's going to feel. And like they said, the currents were kind of playing. We're not to say this has been hugely delayed here either, Sammy. This is kind of par for the course when it comes to a re-entry.
No, we accepted, or we anticipated rather, 1 to 2 hours for the actual retrieval. And it sounds like they're still setting up the front porch here. I like how they call it a front porch. Kind of reminds me of like, welcome home. You're on your front porch.
Hey, did you miss us?
They're feeling great, happy to be home, and ready to be extracted as soon as possible. And so, as I was saying, we have 2 helicopters circling the activity you're seeing on the water right now. Each will take turns picking up an astronaut. So Helo 1 will come on in, hover above the front porch, about 40 feet above the front porch. A Navy recovery specialist will be hoisted down into the front porch.
The restricted maneuvering doctrine is in effect.
Will connect to the first astronaut, which we're expecting to be Christina. And then Helo 2 comes around, picks up Jeremy, while Helo 1 stays above head. And then Helo 1 will come back in for another astronaut, and then Helo 2 for the last astronaut, and then back to the flight deck here on the recovery ship. I was talking to Assistant Artemis Recovery Director Paul Sierpinski. He said helos are a much quicker, safer way to get on board. They did actually consider boats, but then if you think about it, longer time, the crew would have to move through more of the ship. This way, the helos will give a more direct, quicker route to the medical bay for our 4 astronauts. Beautiful shots from our aerial and imagery teams. Clouds have dissipated for a clear view from the bow of the recovery ship here. You can still see divers in the water there. Encircling Orion, that is that stabilization collar we've been telling you about. As you saw in that interview just a few minutes ago, they have to first connect it to Orion, and then once it's secured onto Orion, they can inflate it, and then they'll further secure it with other harnesses and lines. about an hour and 10 minutes since splashdown in the Pacific Ocean here. Reed, Victor, Christina, and Jeremy back home after a history-making mission to the moon and back. If you missed what we said just a couple of minutes ago, the undersea medical officer inside with the crew in Orion reporting all 4 crew members feeling great. Progress being made there on the stabilization collar. It looks like they are beginning to inflate it. And it looks like they're starting to unfold the front porch in order to get that into the water here shortly and inflate that as well. Again, more than 40 people out in the water right now. And those Navy and NASA personnel have been in the water for now about 4 hours. The reason why they had to get out so early is just to stage everything. And actually here on the ship, when there are flight operations happening, you can't have anything else, right? Just because the flight deck can be a dangerous place, so they just want to focus on planes coming and going from the ship, so that's why they wanted to get the boats in the water to make sure that they have all the time they needed for the flight ops. And then the same crew here out in the water, they will stay out in the water for a number of hours after we recover the crew and get them back on the ship, because then they have to recover Orion. All right, that stabilization collar looking good around Orion. We're now seeing some recovery personnel getting on to that collar. Again, they need to further attach it to Orion to make sure that it can really prop up the spacecraft. It's basically lifting it up off of the water just a tad. Again, so it's not so...
Come off me for a minute.
So it doesn't sway so much in the water there. And now that front porch looks like it's nearly fully inflated as well. You can see a much larger surface area. And so once the crew get out of Orion, they can stretch their legs a little bit on this front porch, get some fresh air. And enjoy this beautiful day here on their home planet. It appears appears teams now are about to connect the front porch to the stabilization collar. And at that point, when both are secure, we should soon see astronauts come out of Orion.
So as we're hearing NASA talk about right now, as you're watching this live stream on WPTV.com and our Scripps stations across the country, the astronauts are finally getting to that point where they're departing the capsule. Let's listen in.
Also being fed to the Landing Force Operations Center here on the ship. Of course, it is very important for our recovery teams leading the mission to have all the views that you're seeing as well. Again, listening to their communication loop here on the ship. Very quiet, which is a good thing. It means things are going pretty nominally, meaning as expected.
Trying to get the first close look here at any of the astronauts that get onto that little raft that they built next to the capsule. As Navy dive teams, if you're just dipping in and out of this coverage right now.
Away from the ship, so that means this will be a very quick flight back on the helicopters for the crew. 2-3 minutes, and then they'll be back here on the ship.
I know. As long as this process is, as NASA just indicated, it won't be as long to get back to the ship and then to land.
From one of the personnel on the front porch, it looks like they are now getting ready to deploy what they call the Air Rescue Vest, ARV. And so this is the harness that each crew member will get into in order to be hoisted into the helicopters. Again, those helicopters hovering just about 40 feet above the front porch when they're ready to pick up each crew member.
Front porch, welcome home.
Mm-hmm. It sounds like one at a time they'll be coming out.
Right. I believe they said astronaut Christina Cook will be the first, and then we'll wait and see.
Now the question is, do they bring out each astronaut and clip them onto their harness at a time, or is it all 4 of them and then they get hoisted up?
Right, that is what we're just kind of like taking a close look at right now. So if it is Christina Cook that you see come out of there first, keep in mind, first woman ever assigned to a lunar mission, and she had the longest amount of time for any woman continuously in space. I believe it was I'm going to misquote myself, but over 300 days in space with the ISS.
This is Mission Control Houston. Behind me, a fairly raucous scene as hundreds of flight controllers have poured into the flight control room here. This is reminiscent of the scene after the final shuttle mission of STS-135, although that was the end of a program. This is only the beginning of a program with the textbook splashdown of Integrity and its 4 astronauts. We're standing by for the crew to be extracted from the spacecraft. Entry Flight Director Rick Henfling invited all of these flight controllers who have contributed to this mission to enter the flight control room to have an opportunity to receive well wishes and to share the mutual glow that exists in the wake of a textbook mission for integrity. On the front screen here in Mission Control, a sign that says "Welcome home, Integrity, taking humanity back to the moon, going further, and returning safely to Earth." So all of that jubilation, part of the post-splashdown activities, even as we await the crew being extracted from the vehicle to be hoisted onto Navy helicopters for the trip back to the USS John P. Murtha.
Oh, powerful stuff right there.
I would just love to see that scene when you're assigned to a mission at NASA, and just the hours and days and amount of, I'll call it stress put on those that are around this mission to get to this point, the relief they must be feeling, and everybody high-fiving each other. You could hear it raucous in the background, like the NASA announcer just said, like, congratulations to them. As we're waiting, again, for the first astronaut to come out of the capsule, we are hearing it might be Christina Cook. I was trying to go off memory, but better to go off notes to get everything right for NASA. She was in previously held the record
here in Mission Control
for the longest single space flight by a
Artemis
woman.
Flight Control Room, known as the White Flight Control Room. This is the old shuttle flight control room, and now is the home of Artemis missions to the moon and beyond. Once again, quite a few flight controllers were invited in by Entry Flight Director Rick Henfling to share in the jubilation following the successful splashdown of Integrity. That splashdown occurring an hour and 22 minutes ago, as we stand by for the completion of the extraction of the crew, and ultimately they're hoisting onto Navy helicopters for a short flight back to the USS John P. Murtha.
The fact that they're all gathering is definitely a good sign. Everyone's more relieved now.
Right. And what a team. And like I said,
an opportunity to talk to the head of flight dynamics, Jeff Birch, a moment or two ago. He said the trajectory of Integrity coming through the Earth's atmosphere was so precise, they've never seen anything line up on a ground track like today's entry by Integrity for its splashdown southwest of San Diego.
Wow. And keep in mind, all of this, it's a test flight mission, but they did hit some history markers along the way, the farthest humans have ever traveled into space. But what is next, what this is setting up for, is hopefully within a couple of years, the next Artemis mission, Artemis III,
you can hear
will
it.
return.
Yeah.
Let's see. It appears so.
Jubilation here in the flight control room. The first crew member is out of Integrity.
And we're waiting for confirmation on who that is from NASA. This is live, folks. Okay, so Christina.
We are expecting the other crew members momentarily to be extracted.
Okay. There we see someone else, it appears, in a, yep, the orange suit right there, another number.
Two crew members out.
What a moment. Folks, you're watching this live right now, the NASA live stream, on our live stream here on Scripps News, WPTV from KGTV to Denver. The astronauts coming out, including Christina Cook and the rest of the team, which will eventually be Victor Glover. I believe that we're seeing there right now.
Out, 2 to go.
Got you. That is pilot Victor Glover, the second astronaut to get out of that capsule. You're eventually going to see Commander Reed Weissman, along with Canadian astronaut Jeremy Hansen. Hearing a round of thunderous applause They're at mission control in Houston each time, one member, and I wish we could.
About 1 hour from sunset out in the Pacific, everything continues to go well. Integrity's systems function perfectly during its entry back to Earth.
Which also helps the mission that it's light outside, Sammy.
Yes.
Last out of the vehicle, reported that all the crew members were feeling very well.
Good to hear, too.
Yeah, good. First of all, feeling well, getting out of the capsule there. Again, the first two out, Christina Cook and pilot Victor Glover. First man of color on a lunar mission.
Crew member number 3 now out.
All right. One to go.
One to go. You're hearing the applause in Houston, mission control, as 3 of 4 astronauts have
and now standing by
been
for the
extracted
commander,
from the
Reed
capsule.
Wiseman, who will be last out of his ship.
Reed Wiseman.
Bobbing
Reed
in the
Wiseman.
Pacific under almost ideal conditions. Integrity spanned 694,000 miles during its journey from launch to splashdown.
Almost fitting that a commander of the capsule comes out last. You know, there's an old saying, the captain goes down with the ship. Well, listen, the commander is the last one out of this. Commander, this is an excellent mission by all measures that we've been hearing back here on Earth from NASA. This mission was a great success, including the successful ending right here where these astronauts are all getting out of that capsule safely and soundly.
And then from here, they will be flown via helicopter to the ship.
And we now have Reed Wiseman out of the vehicle.
All right.
All 4 crew members now out of Integrity.
Sam, let's give our WPTV round of applause. Okay, we'll give them just like Mission Control is at NASA. There we go. Absolutely. Listen, we're excited here, just like hopefully you are at home. There's NASA Mission Control in Houston. Bring that applause up. We love to hear it.
I just can't help to think back to just 10 days ago, you know, when the astronauts were going up and seeing the crowd in Cape Canaveral. Just
yes, Titusville, the bridge, the Max Brewer Causeway Bridge closed down, and just thousands and thousands and thousands of people to see the launch. Now we're seeing this, just the end result
crew
of
members
it.
now on the front porch, and the procedure to begin hoisting them up to these 2 Navy helicopters hovering overhead will begin shortly.
We've still got applause going on. No, it's good. So now what happens is they said that just like NASA narrated there, they're going to hoist them up to the helicopter. I believe they're Seahawk helicopters, and if you're familiar with aviation, and then take them back to the next step here, which will eventually be Coronado Navy Base in the San Diego area of California. Hugs, handshakes, all exchanged right there in Mission Control in Houston. I hope you folks that are watching this still have the great feeling that we got to end the week with this. We talked about it all week within our newscast, and I know our colleagues in San Diego and our colleagues in Denver did as well, and all throughout the country. You've seen it when you wake up. You keep track of it through the day, and here we are, all 4 astronauts back on Earth in the front porch, as they call it. Okay, welcome back. And it just gives you a good feeling. You know, you can wake up tomorrow morning and be like, wow, you know, they did another lunar mission. It gives you hope for what's ahead.
especially, you know, with, you know, some of the bad news happening around the world too. This is just something that we all are, you know, looking forward to and are happy that
we can all
this
unite
is a
around
success.
it. We can all unite around it.
Exactly.
And I mean, as you're watching this domestically here in the United States, huge win for the United States. Look right there. Those 4 helmets and the orange, those are the 4 astronauts.
The mission is over, but the melody lingers on as jubilation continues here in the flight control room. We should be expecting NASA's Associate Administrator, Amit Kshatriya, to be joining us shortly for a short interview while the recovery operations continue out in the Pacific. So we'll stand by for that. and then we'll turn it back over to Megan Cruz aboard the USS John P. Murtha.
Okay. Again, I want to point everyone's attention to the middle of the screen there. And I know I'm stating the obvious, but it appears the orange right there, the orange jumpsuits right there with on the left-hand side of that little inflatable raft they call it the front porch. There are your 4 astronauts. They're back home. Oh,
like they're getting some hugs from other cruise members, welcoming them back home.
Welcome back. I mean, I do want to give Canada a shout out too. Canadian astronaut Jeremy Hansen. You know, obviously this is a NASA mission, but he was part of the United States equivalent of the Air Force in Canada. So a lot of respect for what he did for this mission, along with mission specialist Christina Cook, Victor Glover, a Navy veteran pilot, along with Commander Reed Wiseman, also a Navy veteran.
Impressive resume.
Well, yeah, quite the resume. Listen, astronauts, they are exceptional human beings to get to this point, and just so exceptional of what they did in space too. You know, it's not just all about getting back home in this moment. You know, they were, I'm trying to refer to my notes to exactly what kind of scientific missions they were doing, but listen, it wasn't, the fact that they've been farther than any other human in history into deep space, that raises the bar for everyone else. You wonder how far and how. I talk to my son all the time about this. I'm like, you're going to see a manned mission to Mars, you know, in your lifetime.
Houston, here in the Artemis flight control room.
I just wonder how long it's going to be till that, because when you see this and you see, okay, the lunar missions are starting again, we'll get people on the moon again, it gives hope for space missions of the future, for sure.
What's next?
What's next? What's next? And I hope you, all of you watching at home, whether you're watching on your phone, on the stream, on our app, our website, I just hope that you get to share this moment with your family with this positive ending.
Simply enjoying their time right now on the front porch, as it were, the inflatable raft alongside of their Integrity spacecraft. We're expecting Ahmed Shathria, the NASA Associate Administrator, to join us here momentarily for a brief interview before we turn it back over to Megan Cruz aboard the USS John P. Murtha, the recovery ship.
All right, folks, we can't appreciate enough that you've watched our coverage here, our live coverage from Ben Higgins and all our colleagues at KGTV in San Diego, to our colleagues at our Denver Scripps station, to here in West Palm Beach, Florida, to all around the country. Thank you so much for watching this historic moment with us. The re-energizing of lunar missions in NASA and this test flight that has now landed safely back with the capsule of the Artemis II mission.
One step closer to bringing man back on the moon.
That's right. Well said. Punctuated. That's Sammy Squires, a meteorologist here at WPTV. We've been scanning the weather conditions, and hey, I'm glad it's still good for all of those boats out there that are bringing those astronauts back to shore eventually. What a successful mission. What a way to end your week after a 10-day mission. They are the farthest humans that ever traveled into deep space. I'll say that sentence backwards or whatever I said before, but we're about 3 minutes away from the end of this right here. Let's just kind of take a step back and take a look at this beautiful picture right here. The fact that they did it all, and I'm sure they calculated this to a T to be able to still have the sunset there in the Pacific Ocean.
Well, while they still have that light too, yes.
Still have the light. We hope you've had a favorite moment during this whole mission, whether it was from the launch here on the Space Coast of Florida, or perhaps it was the first time the pictures came back.
We're about an hour and 34 minutes since the textbook splashdown of Integrity in the Pacific to bring home our astronauts. And with us now is Ahmed Shathria, the NASA Associate Administrator. Ahmed, a little bit of history made tonight, a little bit of history made over the past few weeks. Your thoughts as this team here basks in the glow of what they just accomplished.
Yeah, Rob, we're here in the control center, and it's kind of overrun with jubilant folks from the mission control, Houston, as well as engineering, and folks that just want to be here, part of it, as we watch our crew get extracted from the vehicle. And, you know, my thought is always about these teams, the team that's in the water right now, pulling the crew out, the team here in Houston that worked so hard over the last 10 days, no sleep to get this done. You know, we still have some work to do to get the crew to the med bay here on the ship. They all look great coming out, so hopefully that won't be too long. You know, I think we saw the administrator on the boat too, giving his thanks to the Navy team on the.
All right, well, we had all of our notes in front of us. Sammy Squires, Mike Trim here at our WPTV studios in West Palm Beach. I want to thank you so much for watching, listening in. It has been quite the ride tonight, but they splashed down on time, Sammy.
It was a success, and we are so happy for them.
Okay, happy that you get to enjoy this at the end of the week. We're going to leave you with some live pictures courtesy of II. The Artemis II splashdown successful, and it appears the astronauts are healthy and good to go. Thank you so much, folks.
Have a great night.
Scripps News.